Mic check. Holy smokes. Good morning, everybody. Sorry for the late start. Obviously, we had some late breaking news. I was trying to get updated on that, and we'll get to that momentarily. But just wanted to say it's good to be here. Good to be back. Thanks for everybody for being here, wherever you are, however you may be listening. Thanks for making us part of your day. It's going to be just another day here in paradise in the beautiful declining United States of America, where we are all so proud of our government and our political leaders. Embarrassing morning again this morning, specifically from the Republicans who have just given up all hope of legislating or being anything other than lapdogs for Donald Trump. Like we've just completely given up. These are a bunch of rating whores. Today is a new level of patheticness, and I'll get to that in a minute. Of course, I'm talking about the shooting at the ICE facility, but I want to wait till the audience is here to cover that stuff. I want to get input from everybody. But just a reminder to everybody that's here, we are crowdfunded, so anything you can do to help us knock out our daily gift goal every day, that'd be much appreciated. You guys were awesome yesterday, and we certainly felt the support. So make sure that you're doing that on TikTok. Make sure you're liking and sharing this. Eventually, within the next 20 minutes or so, we'll get some sort of warning and restriction on the live. So it really helps us if you share this with your friends. Otherwise, it's not going to be pushed out there. But let's just jump in. Let's jump into it. I wanted to show this first. I didn't know who this guy was. It's Cam Higbee. In fact, I didn't even know about this story. Weird. Last night I was just scrolling through lives and I came across I forgot his name. People have been trying to get me to debate this guy forever. He's a younger guy on the right. Like he looks like he's about 15 years old, but he's not. And his significant other, wife, girlfriend, I don't know. He's very Christian. It was like also talking, so I assume wife. I can't remember who that was, but I heard him talking. I'm like, I might join this live. And then Adam Cray joined the live. No, that was actually the ladies' live. I don't remember who this kid was. Now I have that backwards. Anyways, they brought up Cam Higbee, and they were like, do you know what happened with Cam Higbee? I didn't know that this guy's name is Cam Higbee. Cam Higbee's a fucking idiot, though. I'll tell you that much. And Cam Higbee, I assume, is trying to follow in Charlie Kirk's footsteps. And he took a tent and a microphone and a speaker to a college campus, and he went to HBCU. Which school was it again? Does anybody remember what school this was? I should have written that down. Anybody know? Tennessee State University. There we go. Tennessee State, TSU. And it just didn't go well for him. He looks absolutely terrified here.
All we did was set up a table.
That's a whole lot of free speech happening there. And it's good to see these patriotic Americans using their free speech to tell this loser to get the fuck out. Somebody probably should have talked to Cam. I guess when he packed all his stuff up, did anybody check? It appears he left his upper lip, maybe where he set up. Somebody should go back and check and see if we can find Cam's upper lip. There's a guy coming up that's my favorite. How you feel? This guy. Mr. Bravery here, not a peep, just getting the fuck out.
Very safe, very black, and very tired of this.
Anyways, that made me laugh. It was like 2 minutes. There's another 30 seconds of that. It's worth every minute if you watch it. Whoever that guy is, fuck that guy. These people that think they're brave and that think Charlie Kirk was brave, knock it off. Knock it off. Don't go in just to like stir shit up and then be a victim when the shit you wanted to stir up stirred up. This is gonna be this is what they're gonna say. They're all like all the Republicans are like, what about free speech? Yeah, that was a lot of free speech. That was a whole lot of free speech being directed at Cam all at once. All at once they told him what they thought about him. Sorry, bud. You're gonna go to a campus and exercise your free speech. There's no law that says that you have to exercise that free speech respectfully, and they chose not to exercise that free speech respectfully. And I'm proud of every one of them. That was a proud moment yesterday as an American and as somebody on the left. I wanted to show this the Mirror, which is a UK tabloid magazine, which is not a great source. However, this was the headline of the Mirror in the UK. This is Ghislaine Maxwell headed to yoga class. The whole world thinks we're a fucking joke. The whole goddamn world thinks we're a joke. And everybody outside of MAGA can see how transparent all of this is, to the point that like tabloids around the world are just mocking us. Trump was openly mocked at the UN yesterday. Every leader's basically just like, hey, dude, like we're not really interested in your replacement theory bullshit. Why don't you shut the fuck up? And it's been all out damage control this morning for MAGA. I saw Chris Wright, the energy secretary, this morning say that the reason everybody was so quiet during Trump's speech and that people weren't clapping is because they were so locked into what he was saying. They were so enamored by the truth that he was spitting that they couldn't speak. I actually forgot to show this one yesterday. Let me pull this up real quick. Now that we say that, it could have been. I guess it could have been worse for Trump. It could have been a little bit worse for Trump. He could have been Netanyahu, because here's what happened with. Now, is this an older one? Let me make sure this isn't an older one. Oh, damn. Never mind. I got that wrong. Well, we'll show it anyways, because fuck you, because this was in 2024. I'm going to say I thought Netanyahu was speaking on Friday, but look for more of this. Look for more of the room to empty when Netanyahu speaks on Friday. See how that goes. So it could have been worse for Trump. They could have all left. Instead, they just sat there awkwardly and quietly, and now we're all in damage control over there with MAGA. There is some breaking news. Another crazy leftist throwing bullets, this time at an ICE facility. Shut the fuck up, Robert. We're going to get into that right now. Let's talk about that. All right. So there was a sniper in Texas, Red, Texas. Here's how Fox News covered it.
We believe that he was shooting at law enforcement and the detainees from an apartment building. Again, those details are still murky. It looked like it might have been a sniper or some sort of a long form shot. But as soon as we have more information, we will give that out. But we do ask the American public, please join us in praying for the victims, for our law enforcement.
What do you think the odds are that he was shooting at law enforcement? You know, the guys with the masks and the vests and the big name on their back that says law enforcement. What are the chances that this sniper was actually shooting at law enforcement and just hit 3 ICE detainees instead? What do you think the chances of that are? Not very good in my opinion. But what we knew at this point when this came out is that there was a sniper, and that sniper had shot 3 ICE detainees. Now, of course, Fox and everybody on the right, because they have a perpetual victimhood complex, they immediately said, oh, it was actually about ICE. It was actually about going after ICE.
For our law enforcement, we've been saying for months that the rhetoric around our law enforcement, particularly ICE, the dehumanization, the demonization, has spun so far out of control, and that someone is going to get hurt or someone's going to get killed. And we hope that's not today, but this must stop. And I do have to know, almost a month to the date, at this Dallas ICE field office, we actually had a bomb threat there, a viable bomb threat. So we know.
Robert, not everyone in the UK was mocking Trump, just the left-wing nutters. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, the white nationalists loved him. All of the Tommy Robinson's douchebag crowd was like, yeah, Donald, that's right, great replacement theory. Like, there's nothing that you folks that love Donald Trump in the UK love more than a rapist. You fucking love rapists. You love criminals. Anybody who's been in jail, anybody who breaks the law repeatedly, those are your people. Like, we love Tommy Robinson. We love Donald Trump. We love Andrew Tate. You guys are like, you are the most bitch-made, soft-ass baby shit people that have ever existed. Oh no, a brown person. Let's march in the streets. There's people that look differently than us. Let's get very upset about it. You are such bitches, all of you. We'll get back to this, but I just wanted you to know that I saw what you said, and I think you're a bitch. But again, we have detainees shot and killed. Not a mention, not a single mention, that the actual victims of this crime who have been demonized by this administration, by this very news channel, by whoever the fuck this sleepy potato is that's talking, by every Republican out there. They criticize and demonize immigrants over and over and over. 3 immigrants are shot, and the Republicans' response is, this is about us. This is about us. This is about ICE. This is about left-wing nut jobs coming after us. Now we'll see. We'll see. Like, maybe this person really was trying to shoot law enforcement. Maybe they were literally the worst shot ever. But right now, when they're reporting this, the facts as they are is that I believe 2 detainees are dead, and I think 1 is in critical condition. Did you hear any of that? Was there any talk about the detainees that were shot? How the fuck did 2 people die, 1 in critical condition, and those aren't the people you're listing as victims? Those aren't the people you're talking about? Those aren't the people who's have had 3 years of rhetoric? I guess more than that, since like 2021, 2019. 6 years of rhetoric, calling them evil, saying that they're taking over our country, that they're here to take your jobs, they're here to eat your pets. No. That rhetoric is fine. It's irrelevant. What actually happened here is after these detainees were shot, the real victims were ICE. We'll see. We'll see what they say. Like, we'll see what the investigation concludes. We'll see what the evidence says. But no matter what the evidence says, like, even if you come back to this and you go, see, they were right. No, they weren't. In the moment, they're not fucking right. They're making shit up in the moment, and everybody's doing it. I don't know what the fuck happened to you people. I don't know if your life is just like too easy, like you weren't getting enough attention. And so now every single thing that happens, you're like, we're actually the true victims here. What happened to you guys?
That there has been really out of control rhetoric and threats against them. And please join us in praying.
No, we don't pray on this show, but I hope everybody that is still alive remains alive. I hope that. Here is JD Vance. Before anything came out, again, detainees are the ones that are shot. Christy Nome comes out and says, there was a shooting this morning at the Dallas ICE detention facility. Details are still emerging, but we can confirm there were multiple injuries and fatalities. The shooter's deceased by a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And JD Vance, the obsessive attack on law enforcement, particularly ICE, must stop. I'm praying for everyone hurt in this attack and for their families. Where the fuck is this attack? What's wrong with, honest to God, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? Are the Republicans in here yet? What the fuck happened to you? Everything that happens now, just immediately, I'm the real victim. Look at me, I'm the real victim. Don't worry, I'll get to that evidence. I'll get to the evidence that you guys are citing. Here's Christy Nome. Did she delete it? The fuck? Did she delete this tweet? Let me see if I can find this elsewhere. It's giving me a dead link. I don't know if Christy Nome deleted this tweet or not. Let's see. I guess here's what she's saying now. It looks like that one was deleted, but she's changed. For months, we've been warning politicians and the media to tone down their rhetoric about ICE law enforcement before someone was killed. These horrendous killings must serve as a wake-up call to the far left that their rhetoric, again, like, bro, what the fuck? What the actual fuck? Nobody in law enforcement was targeted. These horrendous killings must serve as a wake-up call to the far left and their rhetoric about ICE has consequences. Comparing ICE day in and day out to the Nazi Gestapo, which is accurate. That's accurate. What did Nazi Gestapo do? They rounded up people who they deemed a threat to national security or to the national interest, including LGBTQ people, including political opponents, and including people they viewed as immigrants and people who were immigrants. What's the difference? A secret police, slave patrols. What's the fucking difference here? Why can't we say that? Where's the Republicans? Why can't we compare ICE to the Nazi Gestapo? I'd love to have a real discussion with you guys about this. I don't understand what your problem is with what we're saying here. If you're saying that you can't compare the Nazi Gestapo to ICE, I assume what you're thinking is like, oh, well, the Holocaust. You know, these people haven't been put into concentration camps and then murdered and burned. That would be fair. But we're not saying that because what we think, and I think maybe where we have a disagreement, is we actually thought before they did a genocide on the Jewish people, we thought before that they were still bad. It seems like you guys think only that part was bad. All the other stuff, all the targeting of LGBTQ people, the targeting of leftists and woke ideology, and the targeting and demonizing of a group of people, blaming them for the country's problems. It seems like you guys, that part, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. That's why the comparison's fair. Your ideology and their ideology isn't different. You're taking one group of people and blaming them for all of your problems. It's no different. The more you tell us that we can't say this, by the way, I think the more that we have to say it. I don't think we can be scared into submission here. Somebody labeling Antifa as a terrorist group is one of the most profoundly honest and idiotic things I've ever seen an administration do in this country. If you are labeling anti-fascists as an enemy to the people, then you are admitting that fascists are the people. I remember a bunch of people. My grandfather was Antifa. He was a pilot in World War II. The people that stormed the beaches of Normandy, that was Antifa. Everybody who fought against Germany and Italy was Antifa. Antifa since then, Antifa have always been the good guys. And they still are the good guys. They still are. Like you can point to the destruction of property. Fine. Shouldn't do that. Shouldn't destroy property. You can point to like CHOP and you can say, oh, they took over a town square. That's illegal. Fine. But they're still fighting fascism. They're still standing up and saying that like you can't censor people for saying Black Lives Matter. You can't have police in this country targeting black communities. That's fascist. So whatever you want to say about Antifa, you want to say they crossed the line, you want to say that the members of this fictitious Antifa group, you want to say that some of them broke the law, that's fine. Throw them in jail. That's fine. But you guys have broke the law too. You guys stormed the Capitol on January 6th, didn't you? Why are you not a terrorist organization? Yes, people, when they get motivated by something and they have a strong, like, deep feelings about things, they oftentimes break the law. But you know what never happens? I've never seen ever where you have a group of protesters turn criminal or violent, where there wasn't like an actual fracture, an actual divide, something that was actually happening in the country that was dividing people and hurting people. So I just want you guys to wear it fucking proudly. When you get out there and you point at Antifa, but just remember what it stands for. Anti-fascist. I am anti-fascist. If you have a problem with me, if you're calling me Antifa, because I target you with my rhetoric, it's because you're a fascist. And if you're not a fascist, if you don't agree with fascism, if you think fascism is wrong, then you're just like Antifa. You're just not doing anything about it. You're just like passively Antifa. But in every story, Antifa's the good guys. Think back to like the Diary of Anne Frank or Schindler's List. The stories and lessons learned from Schindler's List, the Diary of Anne Frank, is that the heroes were the people who didn't give a fuck about the law, who said, I don't give a fuck if my country expects me to rat out Jewish folks. I'm going to hide them. I am openly going to defy the law, and I'm going to hide people so that they don't get picked up and thrown into a concentration camp. And history remembers them as heroes. And here we are, less than 100 years later, and the American Nazi Party has completely rebranded, and they call themselves MAGA now. And again, I want to be really clear on this, because I don't use this flippantly. In America, in the 1930s and 40s, we had a large Nazi party, and they were conservative. And they held rallies, and they were supportive of things like strong borders and like eugenics and ethno-states. And they also didn't really care for Jewish folks. And they used to hold rallies here. They held one at Madison Square Garden. And they're like, you know what we need to do? We need to brand this. We've got to have good branding, because what all fascists know is that branding is very important. Because if you have a solid brand and you can convince people of things, then those catchphrases do all the heavy lifting. Give them a 15-second clip. It's why conservatives do so well on the internet. Give them something brain dead and simple that they can repeat easily, and they'll get clicks, they'll get follows. Their numbers explode. Nuance, that doesn't really work for them. But they thought, what could we come up with? These American Nazis. How could we come up with something that, you know, like we know what we believe in, but if we go out there and we say that, like, you know, this needs to be white America, and that, like, you know, the Jewish people are the problem here, and that, like, immigration is the problem, that's too nuanced, and that allows for too much discussion. So we'll just go with America first. Let's do America first. Let's just call it that. And the American Nazi Party said, we are America first now. Charles Lindbergh, thank you. And we all know that. That's the history. Stephen Miller knows that. Everybody in the Trump administration knows that. And yet they chose to use the same tagline from the American Nazi Party. Don't ask us to separate you when you guys won't separate yourselves. Patrick Bet-David had on a legitimate Nazi. We now have conservatives all over this country trying to whitewash Nick Fuentes like he's not a Nazi. He's being accepted into the right. They're giving him a soft landing and bringing him into the fold. Why? Because his rhetoric sounds exactly like yours now. Because you guys, from 2016 until now, you've all turned into American Nazis. You are no different than the Charles Lindbergh-led American Nazis. So when I use Nazi, and when we point at Nazis, I'm talking about the American ones. And if you don't like that label, then show me what's different between you and the American Nazis. You know who didn't want to go to World War II? The American Nazis. What do we have Scott Besson out here today saying like, well, fuck it. We're gonna leave all of our NATO allies hanging if Russia invades. We're not part of that. We're definitely not part of that. We would be to Israel in a second if Iran accidentally farted and some of their fart like went across the border into Israel. We'd be there in a heartbeat because we're fascist now. And Netanyahu's a fascist and Putin is a fascist. And so we're friendly to fascists. And we don't stand up against fascists anymore. In fact, we provide cover for fascists. So I'm sorry that you don't like being compared to Nazis, but you are the American Nazi Party rebranded. For fuck's sakes, Stephen Miller, during Charlie Kirk's funeral, plagiarized a Joseph Goebbels speech. The Nazi propagandist, the most notorious Nazi propagandist, responsible for writing like most of Hitler's speeches. And Stephen Miller, on the day when you guys were supposed to be like, this isn't fair, you keep calling us Nazis, on that day, he chose to plagiarize a Joseph Goebbels speech. And now it's just like Reichstag after Reichstag after Reichstag. He also quoted Richard Spencer too, but that's his friend. Richard Spencer, notorious white nationalist, is Stephen Miller's friend from college. They wrote together. They worked together. And now every time an event happens in the United States, it's the Reichstag fire all over again. All of these fascists come together and blame one group. Now they're saying Antifa, the far left, and no matter who did the crime, it's the far left, it's Antifa, and it's a pattern. You have to see this pattern. For those of you who are tired of being called a Nazi and you don't think you're a fascist, I need you to recognize the pattern. Every time in America that there is an act of violence, before we know the name of the shooter, before we know who the shooter is, before we know the motives of the shooter, the entire administration has already come out and labeled the shooter as far left and said that gave the reason for the shooting as far left motives. And 3 days later, we get the actual evidence because these things take time. And none of you ever change your mind with the evidence. You have to start like picking up patterns of how they do this and how absolutely gullible all of you are. You fall for it every fucking time. In fact, sometimes you beat the administration to it. It's so ingrained in you now that anytime there is an act of violence, you run to the internet to blame the left. How do you not see this? How do you explain this in any other way than like you've all become fascist? You all have bought into this idea that your enemy is on the left. I am not your enemy. If you gave me power tomorrow, if I could run the country tomorrow and I could do whatever the fuck I wanted with the country tomorrow, I wouldn't do shit to any of you. I would give you health care. I would make sure that you had wages that were keeping up with inflation. I would make sure that we had laws on the books that didn't allow oligarchs. I would end Citizens United. I would take money out of politics immediately. I would make open elections. I would have ranked choice voting. I would give every American the most amount of voice that they possibly could have. I would make it easier to vote. I would make it easier for candidates who aren't endorsed by a party to be on that ballot. You would have more than two choices. You wouldn't have the binary. Everything I advocate for every single day would benefit you. Not one thing we advocate for would hurt you in any way. And yet somehow you've been convinced that we are your enemy. Why? Because we show compassion towards immigrants? Because we show compassion towards members of like marginalized communities who are underrepresented? It is astounding that what you have created as your enemy and the thing that you are most fearful of is equality. And somehow, some way, whatever you do, whatever you consume, you've started to actually believe that. You know who else had like who all like what other administrations had violence all the time? Every other fascist administration. Every one. And there's one of two things happens. The fascist loses because the people refuse to back down, or the people back down and the fascist takes all the power. If you go look at Russia. Go look at how Vladimir Putin got power. And then look at the response, because he wasn't deeply popular and people knew what he was going to do. And just step by step, what did he do? First, he went after the media. And he started silencing the media. And he used the weight of the government and the capture of the courts and the legislature to force media companies into submission, where they can't tell the truth anymore. And if they do tell the truth, they won't last long. And then they went after the elections. And then they went after their political opponents. The amount of Vladimir Putin political opponents who have wound up dead is alarming. But at that time, when Putin took over, there was violence in Russia. The people revolted. And eventually they gave up. And they gave up because Putin has a massive military behind him, just like Donald Trump does. I don't believe a single one of you thinks that Donald Trump wouldn't take control of the government and use the military on its own people. I don't think any of you think that. It is painfully obvious that he's going after our media. It's painfully obvious now that he's going after comedians, which is another thing Putin did. It became not outlawed, but essentially outlawed to make fun of Vladimir Putin as a comedian in Russia. You know where we don't get a lot of good comedians from? Russia. You don't see a lot of comedians coming out of fascist countries, do you? Quick, tell me your favorite Russian comedian. Quick, tell me your favorite Israeli comedian. Not Jewish, Israeli. Quick. Got one? Yakov Smirnov. Where was Yakov Smirnov? Wasn't he here? I meant people that like practice their comedy there. Is he? I guess he was Soviet, but he's American. I think a lot of people that come from these fascist countries and immigrate, they wind up being pretty good comedians because that's how they laugh through their pain. I don't want to keep going. Now this is fucking insane. Here's what they want. Here's what they're telling you the evidence is. Come on. Three immigrants are shot. 2 dead. Cash Patel says, this morning, just before 7 a.m. local time, an individual fired multiple rounds at a Dallas, Texas ICE facility, killing 1, wounding several others before taking his own life. FBI, DHS, ATF are on the ground with Dallas PD and state authorities. And then they show this picture. And it's hard to see, but it says anti-ICE. And it's written in a marker. Really? Really? You guys are buying this? You're buying this? That the shooter missed all the ICE people who are clearly like marked. They're labeled. It couldn't be easier to distinguish the difference between an ICE agent and a detainee. And they just missed 3 times. And they're like, well, let me write this out. Let me write anti-ICE on the bullet. Bull fucking shit. The level of stupid you have to be like, yep, this is proof enough for me. Even if that winds up being true, this cannot be enough proof from you. Yeah, the ink's running from the rain. Well, he did it right before. Oh, I hope they don't confuse me for being pro ICE here. I better write it on this bullet. Anti-ICE. Get the fuck out of here. And it's just sitting there. There's no way you guys are buying this shit. No way. Did you see his internet? I did see something on the internet. Yeah, I saw there was one post, right? Jen, if you come across anything, you can send it my way. I don't know. Kayla said, saw someone call Stephen Miller Pee Wee German, and I haven't stopped laughing. KK Caroline blamed the internet intentional audio distortion, saying the audio was lowered. Oh, in the Trump speech? I saw that. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you dipshits that show up every day. You just allow yourselves to be lied to. Like I said, we don't know the shooter yet, but if you can't acknowledge that the mere fact that Republicans, before we have the evidence, are coming out blaming Antifa, if you can't see that and recognize that that's problematic, it doesn't matter if they're right or not. It does not. Whether what they said is true or not, they don't know if it's true or not right now, and they're saying it as if it is true. And that's the pattern. Take every time there is a problem, come out, blame the left, do it before any information comes out. And the left, like, we don't want to play the game. And this is a shitty situation, because as somebody that covers the media, like, I don't want to come out and just guess. I don't want to come out and say, like, oh, here's what happened before I know the details. I don't want to do that. I'll never do that. But that's always going to give Republicans a leg up in the public voice, because they will always come out and just make shit up. And you can see, look in the chat. Their followers are absolutely fucking broken. They're just like, yep, that's the case. That's it. Nothing could change my mind. Here's Ted Cruz. Again, no evidence here. Here's Ted Cruz. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to divide and I'm going to play victim.
It was 2 weeks ago today that we saw a political assassination in Utah that tore the heart out of much of this country. This is the third shooting in Texas directed at ICE or CBP.
Yeah, maybe there's too many people with access to guns. No? It's just the left? Got it.
This must stop.
10-speed truck. No, I curse because I don't limit my speech. I was born and raised in a cult where we limited speech. And if you don't like cursing, you should leave. And maybe call your mom and tell her you're kind of a little bitch and you can't handle it.
To every politician who is using rhetoric, demonizing ICE and demonizing CBP, stop.
What about demonizing immigrants? You know, the people that were just killed. Are we living in the upside down world? 2 immigrants killed, 1 shot. The rhetoric against immigrants is fine, but don't say mean things about ICE. Got it.
To every politician demanding that ICE agents be doxxed and calling for people to go after their families, stop.
No. No. No, we're not going to be like forced into submission. No. You won't end the violence on your side. You won't. You won't end your rhetoric and you won't end your violence. I guess we didn't watch the video. I have it now. ICE detained a 5-year-old autistic girl and would not let her get inside her house with her family. They used her as a hostage to try and get the father to come outside, which he was not legally obligated to do. And when the police showed up, they ran like little bitches. I'm sorry. If you're a little bitch and if you don't follow the law, we should know who you are and we should prosecute you. No. We will not stop saying this. You have to stop being that. You can't be a fucking fascist and then be like, this isn't fair when you call me a fascist. Fuck you. We're going to have the conversation in the marketplace of ideas, just like Charlie Kirk wanted. And by the way, this is a free speech platform. You're allowed to come up here and debate with me. And I give that opportunity every single day. And every single day, you sit in the comments. Because you know what we all know. And that's that you guys don't know what the fuck's going on either. You're just hoping and praying that this works out. You have no fucking clue how to explain any of this stuff. You're just like, man, this is my side. I'm sticking with them. I don't know how to respond to this, so I'm just going to keep calling the guy on screen an idiot. I'm just going to keep calling him a fascist. Could call him a lefty. Could call him an Antifa, whatever. But what you won't do is come up here and have a discussion, because when we have the real discussion, we're going to have to talk about real facts. And the facts are that all of your people ran to microphones because they're media whores, and they're lying. They're just making shit up. And you're cool with that.
This has very real consequences. Look, in America, we disagree. That's fine. That's the democratic process. But your political opponents are not Nazis.
Some of them are. Some of them are. What do you want me to do about that? Stephen Miller is. He just plagiarized a Nazi speech while saying that the left is evil, that they are nothing. You are nothing is what he said. Sorry, Nazi. If you don't want to be called a Nazi, create some separation. Make it really clear to us that the Nazis in your party aren't the same as you. Patrick Bet-David's like, I don't like that they're calling us Nazis. Let me bring on the most prominent Nazi in the country and have a 2-hour conversation about the nuances of the difference between us. And we'll mostly agree on everything. Don't platform Nazis. Don't put them in your administration. I'm neurodivergent. Everybody who's ever watched me, you know, like I don't have a filter. What happens in my head usually comes out. I can't sit here and pretend that you're not Nazis, and I'm not gonna not say it. Not say it. That's pretty good. Sorry. Create some distance, Ted. Start talking about the Nazis in your party, and condemn the Nazis in your party. Because if you don't, we don't know if you're just one of those like slick Nazis that's pretending, or if you're a conservative who can't see it. But if you don't create that separation, we'll never know. We don't know which one you are. Nobody trusts anybody in the government anyways. We don't trust these politicians. So if you don't give us a reason to think that there's like a difference between you and Nick Fuentes, then sorry, do better.
We need to learn to work together without demonizing each other, without attacking each other. And I want to say
You're doing
thank
it.
you. I want to say thank you to the brave men and women of law.
You just did it. You just demonized all of us. You literally just demonized all of us. You said that we caused this shooting for rhetoric against ICE. ICE wasn't the target. This is crazy. Like, are we in Crazyville? Stop demonizing your opponents. Stop blaming them for everything as we blame you for a thing that didn't even happen.
Law enforcement, I want to say thank you to the brave men and women of ICE and CBP and everyone who puts their lives on the line to keep us safe. The divisive rhetoric tragically has real consequences.
I don't know, Josh. I'm on that Chinese platform now talking about Nazis. So we'll see. And I'm saying it too. We're just going to say the word today. Listen, I demonize you if, look, Go, Depot, whatever. If you are a Nazi, yes, I demonize you. Are you a Nazi? Do you support Nick Fuentes? Do you support Stephen Miller? Do you agree with them? Do you agree with Nick Fuentes? Do you agree with Stephen Miller? Do you agree with the Nazis? If you do, then yes, I think you're problematic. If you don't, if you think it's a problem that Nick Fuentes is a prominent voice in your movement, if you think it's a problem that Stephen Miller is quoting Joseph Goebbels, like word for word in speeches, then you're not it's not you. I'm not talking about you. So you let me know. Left one cult. What's my cult? Do I support National Socialism? You mean democratic socialism? I don't have an ideology. I think if the people vote for ideas that are more social in nature, I'm fine with that. I like democracy. That's what I mostly like. And you can have socialism and democracy at the same time. So I don't know. But you guys like National Socialism. You want to talk about National Socialism. That means you're actually nationalizing businesses. Donald Trump is nationalizing businesses. You are the National Socialist. You know that, right? This brand of nationalism that was America first has turned into America gets to own these corporations. Donald Trump's forcing percentages out of major corporations. That's National Socialism. Joe Biden didn't do that. Fuck, Mom Donnie doesn't even call for that. So if you're going to start pointing fingers at nationalist socialists, yeah, shocker. Shocker that the party that is spouting Nazi rhetoric is also doing National Socialism, and you motherfuckers can't figure that out. You still think you're dealing with free market capitalists, and you're not. You're dealing with actual national socialists. And again, I don't know what to do about this. I don't know how to address this any differently. You guys don't live in reality. You have no clue what's going on. You are this type of rhetoric where it's just blame the left, blame the left, blame the left. It works for you. And you are now worked up into such a fever that you have lost sight of reality. And this is what the Nazis did too every fucking day. Rhetoric, rhetoric, rhetoric. Propaganda, propaganda, propaganda. Jews bad, Jews bad, Jews bad, Jews bad. Poisoning the blood, poisoning the blood, poisoning the blood. Every day on every media outlet, they just told you every day, oh, look, here's another example of a Jewish person doing something wrong. See. And just day by day, the Germans are like, you know what? I didn't want to admit it, but I got to admit it now. They are the problem. And I guess I used to like freedom, but for now we're going to have to suspend freedom and we're going to have to take care of this problem. This problem that didn't even exist, that wasn't even a real problem. Where was it? Let's see if I can find this actually. You can't even search that. There's a viral video going around. I think somebody sent it to me on TikTok, but I can't find it. It's this guy, and he's like, my whole life I've been told that the Nazis were bad and that Hitler was bad. But now with ChatGPT, you can translate his speeches, and I listened to his speeches. And he said things like, we got to put God back in the schools. We got to have secure borders. We got to protect our national sovereignty. Was I wrong about him the whole time? No. Nope. What you saw is a control mechanism. What you're seeing, what you're reading, these speeches that he's saying, it's propaganda and it's not true. But ironically, MAGA and like if we read, let's just do it. Let's just fucking do it. Let's just find one. Let's see if it sounds like MAGA. All right, this is an extract from a speech from 1939. Let's see. I didn't plan on this. Let's just see. You guys have seen the video? If somebody has the video, Jen, do you have it? Let's see. Jen, if you can find that video, let me know and we'll show it. All right. All right. Let's just change this. I'm going to change the word. I'm going to change the word Jewish to we can say let's make it for America. So let's say immigrants. In connection with the immigrant question, I have this to say. It is a shameful spectacle to see how the whole democratic world is oozing sympathy for the poor, tormented immigrant people, but remains hard-hearted and obdurate when it comes to helping them, which is surely in view of its attitude an obvious duty. The arguments that are brought up as an excuse for not helping them actually speak for us Americans. For this is what they say. We, that is democracies, are not in a position to take in the immigrants. Yet in these empires, there are not 10 people to the square kilometer, while Germany, with her 135 inhabitants to the square kilometer, is supposed to have room for them. They assure us we cannot take them unless America, sorry, I keep saying Germany, but it should be America. America is prepared to allow them a certain amount of capital to bring with them as immigrants. For hundreds of years, America was good enough to receive these elements, although they possessed nothing except infectious political and physical diseases. What they possess today, they have by a very large extent gained at the cost of the less astute American nation by the most reprehensible manipulations. Today, we are merely paying this people what it deserves. When the American nation was, thanks to the inflation instigated and carried out through by the immigrants, illegal immigrants, deprived of the entire savings which it had accumulated in years of honest work, when the rest of the world took away the American nation's foreign investments, when we were divested of the whole of our colonial possessions, these philanthropic considerations evidently carried little noticeable weight with democratic statesmen. Today, I can only assure these gentlemen that thanks to the brutal education with which the democracies favored us for 15 years, we are completely hardened to all attacks of sentiment. After more than 800,000 children of the nation had died of hunger and undernourishment at the close of the war, we witnessed almost 1 million head of milking cows being driven away from us in accordance with the cruel paragraphs of a dictate, with the humane democratic apostles of the world forced upon us as a peace treaty. Donald Trump just spoke at the UN and said all of this. He said all of this. You guys have looked at us. We've taken care of you. And now you're like, now look at this. You're breaking my teleprompter. You're breaking the escalator. You're not telling me thank you. You're not helping me. And you're not even acknowledging that immigration is ruining our countries. And if you don't realize that immigration is ruining your country, you're all going to hell. Your countries are going to hell. It's the exact same fucking rhetoric. You're not escaping this. In fact, the more we talk about it, like the more we compare, the more obvious it is. So when you find yourself saying, "I'm not a Nazi," but then your political leaders are quoting Nazis and doing what the Nazis did, just know that there were Nazis in Germany who sat along and watched all this stuff happen too, and just bought into the propaganda because it didn't hurt them, and their whole country was destroyed. And that's what happens with fascism. They destroy your country. That's what happened in Russia. What happened in Germany. It's what was going to happen in Brazil. Thankfully, the Brazilians stood up against Bolsonaro. Now he's going to prison. 1,200 missing from Alligator Alcatraz. Yeah, I don't know. We have no record of what's happening in El Salvador. Oh, I don't know. It's fine. These people were here illegally. They committed a misdemeanor. They're ruining our country. You're the same. I want to show you this. This was from Karl Rove, and we'll get off this subject. But Karl Rove, who was a famous pollster, worked for the Bush administration, has been a lifelong Republican, said, despite this earnest plea, there has been a disturbing and growing undercurrent in our national conversation and on the internet, a pronounced emphasis on they and them. Charlie would be alive, but for them. They killed him. They are responsible for his death. They must be made to pay. No, Charlie Kirk wasn't killed by them. They didn't pull the trigger. One person did, apparently a young man driven by impulse and a terrible hate. If there were a they involved, law enforcement would find them, and the justice system would hold them accountable. But he and him are the correct pronouns for this horrendous act. And you're doing it now. You're doing it right now. Why can't the left stop celebrating murder? We're not. We're not celebrating it. You're doing it again now. This is mass psychosis. Mass psychosis. Doxing is what led to the rise of Hitler. Get fucked. Get all the way fucked. Are you out of your goddamn mind? In the 1930s, it was doxing that led to that? Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. What an unbelievably stupid thing to say. I'll stop calling you Nazis when you stop running cover for Nazis and also stop lying about Nazis. We never would have had Hitler if we didn't have doxing campaigns in the 1930s. How'd they do that? How'd they do that? By fucking telegraph? They were sending letters to each other? How the fuck? The doxing were what the Nazis did to Jewish people. They were all writing names of Jewish people. And those people were being rounded up, and they were tattling on their neighbors, just like all you guys did. After Charlie Kirk was shot, y'all sat in lives and you're like, let's get this person fired. Let's put this person's personal information out there because they thought it was funny. Yep. That's you. You guys are on an all-out doxing campaign. We didn't dox Charlie Kirk. Everybody knew who the fuck Charlie Kirk was. Who's getting doxed because of Charlie Kirk? Is there a single Republican that got doxed because of Charlie Kirk? I don't think so. I mean, there were Republicans all over this country saying this is a civil war. You're next. None of them lost their jobs that I know of. But you guys are like, we're the real victims here. We're always the victims. This is a cult. Nazism was a cult. Fascism is a cult. You're in one. And as somebody who has come from a cult, I promise you, treating you with baby gloves is not going to work. What is going to work is one day these actions will come to your doorstep. And when you reach out to us, we're going to say, hey, Nazis, right? And if you don't say yes, sorry, you're still with them. You're either with the regime or you're not. And you don't have to agree with us politically. You don't have to become a Democrat. But there's a line. This is a line in the sand time. Your government every single day is going on TV, lying to you and telling you how dangerous we are. I haven't hurt a single one of you. My words don't hurt any of you. And yet your administration wants you to believe I am your enemy and I should be silenced. And I won't be. And we won't be. And you chose the wrong fucking one. You chose the wrong leader because he's a fucking idiot. He's like this. Every time this guy gets a microphone, it's more and more apparent that he's an idiot. And we'll see. Maybe you'll coalesce around JD, who's quite a bit smarter than Donald Trump. We'll see. But at some point, you being fascist is going to be apparent. And if I were you, I would want it to become apparent while I wasn't still a fascist. I would want to figure that out before the rest of the world forced you to admit it. That's what I would do. You're getting nothing from this. What are you getting? What are you benefiting here? You're just enraged. You should be able to sit here with me and let me say all of this stuff, and it shouldn't enrage you. In fact, if you think I'm wrong, you should be able to have a discussion with me, which you can do by messaging GenDub1 on Discord, and you can come up here and you can have a conversation with me. But it seems to me that all of you have just decided we're not doing this shit anymore. Like, we're just going to go all in on victims and we're going to do the divide. I honestly believe that tomorrow, if Donald Trump came out and said, you either register as a Republican or you leave the country, I think 80% of you would be like, yep, that's just where we're at. That's what we have to do. We can't solve this. And we can't solve it. We can't solve it until you guys start recognizing that the left is not a monolith. And that anytime there's a shooter, that's not all of us. And we have to do the same thing. But like 75% of the political violence is you guys. It's your side. Do you think you're responsible for school shootings? Do you think you should be held accountable for that? Do you think you inspired that? No. Can you acknowledge the part that you may have taken? Yeah. But I'd like to say, once again, there is zero evidence that calling Donald Trump a fascist led to Charlie Kirk being unalived. In fact, it seems like the motive to kill Charlie Kirk was pretty fucking simple. This person believed Charlie Kirk was a bigot. And this person thought Charlie Kirk spoke hateful rhetoric against marginalized people. And that's true. That did happen. But we can't say that because then Donald Trump doesn't get to be the victim here. So it has to be, you called Donald Trump a fascist, and so therefore Charlie Kirk dying is your fault. Oh, okay. Just don't be a fascist. I want to show you this clip from Tim Miller, who somebody asked me yesterday if I was a fan of Tim Miller, and I have not been a fan of Tim Miller until yesterday. I think this was an incredibly, I don't know, brave moment. This show, Piers Morgan Uncensored, I've stopped showing clips from it. I think it's sick. I think Piers Morgan knows exactly what he's doing. It's rage bait. It's a panel. There's nobody ever gets their argument out. This is just a way for people to like settle online beefs, and they show up and they scream at each other. And Tim Miller had enough yesterday, and I'm gonna just play this uninterrupted because I think this was incredibly powerful.
I just think this is like one of the most depressing 35 minutes I've ever spent in my entire life being on with these people. And I think that this is a big tragedy. I think in a liberal democracy that we all should agree that people are responsible for their own actions, that people should be held accountable for their own actions as individuals. That this is not, I don't want this country to become Yugoslavia where the Serbs hate the Croats and every Croat is bad and every Serb is bad and every non-MAGA is responsible for Tyler Robinson's actions and every MAGA is responsible for David DePape's actions. And we come on here and we shout at each other and we say that, oh, what did Kerry just say? Oh, that the liberals have become violent. It's a violent movement. It's like that is not true. Or that Wajahat comes on here and starts like shout, not answer the question, shouting like, what is the point of this? What is him, but okay. To come back together. We should be able to come back together and engage on the merits of what happened. Every liberal is not violent. I know lots of liberals. I talk to a lot of liberals don't don't own weapons, don't want to have weapons, preach peace. There were obviously a lot of Christians and MAGAs and conservatives that preached peace yesterday, including Charlie's wife. Like, we're going to come on here and smear everybody from the other side and incite and have Eric come on and say, I'm angry and I want to go at war with the left. I'm sorry. I'm signing out from all this. I'm checking out from all of it. Tyler Robinson, what he did was horrible, and he's responsible for his actions. People are responsible for their words if they're lying, and they should be called out for it. But like, why are we doing this? I mean, Megyn Kelly yesterday was tweeting at me. Carrie, we retweeted it. She said to me, you gleefully canceled all of us for 5 years. One of yours killed Charlie, and then you laughed at our pain. Carrie just said they did this. She used the word they. I didn't do any of that. I didn't laugh at Charlie. I didn't kill Charlie. I don't take any glee in his pain. It's really affected me emotionally in a pretty deep way. And I think that the way that we've all decided to treat each other on these panels, like we're enemies and there's some civil war, when like the reality is a deranged 22-year-old that got radicalized did something really bad, and we should all fucking condemn it and say we don't want that to become a country where people do political assassinations. Unfortunately, I just don't think that we're up for that, and I've got to listen to this clown show, and it's pretty frustrating, frankly. And it's not frustrating, actually. It's really sad. It makes me sad. I'm depressed by it all.
And I do want to say, like, I share that sentiment, and I try to respond directly. These folks over here, specifically Carrie Lake, is somebody who only knows division. It's how she rose to prominence, calling people evil, even like insane things, like saying that people who get vaccinated are evil, or people who said that the election wasn't stolen is evil. I'm tired of these people being able to control like the narrative and putting everybody in a box. I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying really hard. I think Donald Trump is a fascist. I think J.D. Vance is a fascist. I think this administration is fascist. And I think that nobody in the history of this world who aligned with a fascist dictatorship outside of the actual fascisti from Italy have ever known that they were fascist. They never know. Just like everybody in the cult that I grew up in didn't know that they were in a cult. But I do think like that what's hard about our current state of affairs is that Donald Trump is Jen, can you mute real quick? I'm just getting feedback. Donald Trump is the movement. And so we're at a point now where we can't criticize Donald Trump without you guys taking it personally. I can't criticize your leaders without you taking it personally. And that puts us in a very precarious place. If you're demanding that we not talk about your leaders in honest ways or even dishonest ways, that like we can't have a conversation. We have to be able to. The freedom of the press and the freedom of speech are the First Amendment for a reason. It was the most important part, according to our founding fathers, to make sure that our government didn't turn authoritarian. So you're supposed to be able to criticize them, and you're all supposed to criticize them. We're not supposed to be pledge allegiance to our politicians. We're not supposed to be wearing fucking merch. We're not supposed to be this loyal to a singular person. George Washington conveyed this when they wanted him to stay on as president. He's like, no, we didn't do this to have a king. You guys are trying to make me a king. And people, when they feel desperate, or people when they feel shaken, or people when they feel like they have lost control, reach for authoritarianism. And sometimes that authoritarianism is justified, sometimes it's needed, and sometimes it's not. But all the time, authoritarians are trying to convince you that it is needed. And now in America is not one of those times. We're at record low crime. Record low crime. Even with millions of people coming to our border seeking asylum, crime levels dropped. This divide that we have right now is all bullshit. It's all based on lies, and it's all based on racist rhetoric. And I understand that that's difficult to like parse through, excuse me. It's hard to get cut through all the bullshit. But the reality of this country is immigrants aren't hurting us. They're not a drain on the economy. They're a net benefit on the economy. They do not increase crime rates. In fact, they lower crime rates because they commit crime at lower rates. Trans people are not hurting you. Nobody's trying to cut off your kids' genitals. Men aren't trying to compete in women's sports. All of these things that you focus on and talk about non-fucking stop, they're not real. They're not happening. How the fuck is America going to be brought down by trans people playing sports and this fake like border crisis that is destroying our country? These things aren't real. What is real? It's very real that there is an oligarchy forming in our country. It's very real that the rich have never been richer and money is power. And so the power is consolidated in a very few people's hands right now, and all of those people work for the administration or work in congruence with the administration, in conjunction. I'm fucking up my words today. They're all working together. The real problem, the real threat to you, right, left, red, blue, independent, whoever the fuck you are, the greatest threat to you and your future is your ability to pay your bills, to have a house, to raise a family, to have an education. And the biggest threat to all of that is the oligarchs, and nobody's talking about the oligarchs. And by the way, who the fuck do you think controls the levers here? Who's pushing stuff out into the algorithm? Why is it that when we talk about the oligarchs, no clicks? If we talk about COVID conspiracies, unlimited clicks, because they shove that out. They force it out in the algorithm. They're covering up their own takeover that is being enabled by, one, our government, but now accelerated by a narcissist who could give a fuck about any of you. 10 years from now, if we head down this road, we're all going to be in the same place, broke, living in an oligarchy. And we'll look back on this moment and be like, fuck, what were we? We really fought about immigrants? We really fought about trans people? We really thought that Mom Donnie, like Zoran Mom Donnie, was a threat to America because he wanted grocery stores to fill in where food deserts, like where there's food deserts, and he wanted free public transportation. And we really fought about this like he was the enemy while the oligarchs were buying up everything, buying all the houses, buying all the companies, getting every government contract. They monitor every fucking move you make now. They can do anything. Have you ever tried to screenshot a tweet on Twitter? If you screenshot it, go on Twitter and screenshot a tweet. And look at the picture that you screenshotted and the screenshot that you get. There will be a new Twitter logo in there. That means that we've got a software there that takes what you're doing and changes it automatically. And if they can do that, if that software can communicate with your hardware and it can make those changes, you better fucking believe they can hear and see everything you're doing, every message you write, every porn website you go to. And when push comes to shove, if they need you to fall in line, they will blackmail you, which is what they always do, which is what they're doing right now, which is why this administration is literally filled with criminals and people that don't have other options. That's why the Epstein files won't come out, because we're just covering this all up, and they want you to talk about everything else. I want you to know that when I call you Republicans fascists, I view you as victims. I want you to know that. I think you got duped, and it doesn't justify a single thing that you did, because hurt people, and victims victimize people sometimes. But I view you as victims of an oligarch class. But I also recognize that it's like with a little bit of effort, you could see through this and realize that you're being played, and you could help other people. You don't have to become you don't have to join the left. You don't have to be a Democrat. You just got to push back against authoritarianism. And I don't understand how in America we can't come together on that. How we can't recognize what's happening right now. It's an authoritarian takeover. It absolutely is. And we're going to argue like left and right. There is no left and right anymore. There is no red and blue. There is no Republican versus Democrat. There are a bunch of people with different ideas, and the oligarchy is just going to take the power from all of them. They don't give a fuck about your ideology, but they do want you to keep talking about it and not talk about them. Hey, Jen. Sorry about that.
Hey. So Gail found the video. Well, so the original video, the guy took it down, but Good Trouble did stitch the video, the one with the AI.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Put that in
Is that where I saw it?
Well, I mean, it went around, but the original guy who made the video took it down.
That might be where I saw it. Let's see. All right. Go ahead. Do your announcements, then we'll play it.
All right. So, what time is it? It's 10:45. We do this show each day, Monday through Friday from 9:30 to 1 Pacific time. We rely on your generosity to keep things going. So if you look at the bottom, the Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats all go towards knocking down that balance so that we can keep doing this each day. It is supposed to be date night with Admir tonight, so Jay is going to be, I'm saying this right, that's the plan. We haven't talked about this one.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Okay, so later on tonight on TikTok, Jay will be live on his main account with Admir and I believe Amanda to bring in some opposition, hopefully, to have some conversation. So if you'd like to come on and debate through TikTok tonight, you can do that. On TikTok, we will have guest requests open on TikTok. So if you'd like to do that. But if you currently would like to speak to RTP, and how you can do that is the Venmo is my Discord username. So if you want to DM me or add me on Discord, I can bring you up and have a conversation with you in real time. Also, FYI, any transphobia, homophobia, racism, anything like that will get you timed out on anywhere you're watching. And no, Jen is not his wife. Don't be gross. Saw that in the comment. Absolutely the fuck not. Anyways, so yeah, any kind of bigotry will get you muted, FYI. And then if you check out the link tree in our bio or on most social media platforms, we've got merch. Jay's on Cameo. We upload these episodes to Spotify. And we started members only events for Monday evenings. So if you're a paid subscriber on any of the platforms, you can join us for those events. So there's all that. What do you call an atom that doesn't last?
I don't know.
No laughing matter.
Thank you. No, wrong, Amanda. Not a NORADs, Amanda. Amanda, you can see actually right above your comment. I'm just Jen. That's the Amanda that's there tonight. And then Admir. And somebody said Admir's not my wife. We're just dating. That's true. We're just in a relationship. Make sure Admir knows that. All right, here's the video I'm talking about.
To the speeches that H-men gave to the German people and troops. Couldn't understand what they were saying, but boy, they sounded menacing. I mean, it just sounds evil. Well, now they've got AI that translated it into English. It talks about Christian values and moral integrity and how valuable women are to a society. It's not quite as bad as I thought it was. And then it talks about the media being so corrupt. It played a big part in the Germans having their culture stolen from them. Damn, these are things we worry about. And, I can't help but think we might have been on the damn wrong side of history.
You hear this dude's words.
Cut that off. That's the video we're talking about. It does sound the same. And again, I just want to say to you Republicans, when you say things like that, when you talk about your Christian values, when you talk about women being so important to a society, and you say these things, I recognize that you believe them, and I actually recognize that those things are important, and I would agree with them. What the trouble is when you can't separate rhetoric from action. And if you look at the action that has been taken by this administration, they're not doing anything to address the concerns that you have other than demonizing everybody else. After all, that's what Donald Trump does. He doesn't solve problems. He makes you believe that he's solving problems by blaming somebody else for those problems. And that's ultimately what fascism is. Now, none of you would follow like a fascist government if they didn't say the things that you wanted to hear. And they know the things that you want to hear. They focus test the fuck out of this stuff. Trust me, these politicians know what to say to you. And Donald Trump knows what gets a reaction, and they watch social media and they see what works and doesn't work. And that's why every Donald Trump speech, even now, even at Charlie Kirk's funeral, sounds exactly the same. It's just hit after hit after hit after hit of talking points. And those talking points are meant to, one, make you angry, and two, make you feel like you're in a fight, and three, make you feel like everybody around you is in a fight, and you stand up and clap together, and that creates emotion, and that creates a feeling of euphoria. And when you are a Christian and you are told that those moments, that feeling is the Holy Spirit, it's often that you can't tell the difference, and they blur those lines purposely. You all, like, I know you all have to recognize that Jesus would do none of this. And so you then have to acknowledge that it seems like these people who are doing very anti-Christian things are using your Christianity against you, or at least using your Christianity to get you on board with the things that they are doing. And you might say, oh, well, faith and the real world are different. Fine. Then don't let your faith convince you to do the bad things in the real world. The reason that you guys go along with so much of this stuff is because it's a bunch of people with crosses around their neck who are going like, we are Christians, this matters to us. And because we are under attack as Christians, we have to react in this way. We have to be proactive. This idea of like the attack on religion, the war on Christmas, I've heard this my whole life. And the reality is that every single person I know who has left their religion and who no longer practices religion, you know what radicalized them? Reading. Every one of them. They just read stuff. And when they read stuff and they tried to share it with their friends, their religious friends told them that they were evil for even bringing that up. That it was an attack on their faith for you to even bring up that conversation. And that's how you get people where I'm at. Where I think religion, like there is nothing, I can't point to a single thing in this world that I think has caused more problems than organized religion. I think it is the number one cause of war, of starvation, of genocide. We fight all of these wars along ideological lines. And then at the end of the day, like, here's the reality. Charlie Kirk fought this fight. Okay, Charlie Kirk was a Christian warrior, and you guys believed what he believed. And at the end of it, where we're left is Charlie Kirk is dead, and Charlie Kirk's body is in the ground, and that's all we know. That's all we know. But you guys get this little thing that you get to do that I don't know why you get to do this, but you get this thing where you're like, oh, actually, we do know where Charlie Kirk is. No, you don't. You think, you hope, you wish. And then there's the divide. And you think that the world needs to capitulate to this thing that you don't know. It's a thing that you hope. And we will go to war about that. And we will fight about that. And we will write laws about that. And we'll divide families about that. And we'll divide communities about that. We'll divide states about that. We'll divide countries about that. And we will continue to fight war after war after war, and not recognizing, like, this has always baffled me. Like, I grew up Mormon, and there's this thing amongst Mormons, if we have any Mormons here, like, in the Book of Mormon, there's something called the Great and Abominable Church. It's this, it's used as a metaphor, but basically what it was is you had like these actual Christians who were more like Jesus, who were poor and who taught in the streets, and they lived their life according to the teachings of Jesus, and they lived meekly. And then you had the Great and Abominable Church, and that was this massive church with gold and silver and all the riches, and the priests all dressed nicely, and they looked down on the poor, and they didn't take care of the poor. And that's the message of the Book of Mormon, right? And the Great and Abominable Church, according to Mormons, everybody's just like, that's the Catholic Church, right? So there's this divide even amongst Christian people. Meanwhile, Mormons are building multi-million-dollar temples everywhere. And inside those temples, you have gold, like you have golden, literally, like a baptismal font with golden calves holding it up, or oxen, golden oxen holding it up. And it's meticulously cleaned in there. and the artwork is beautiful. The craftsmanship is beautiful. And it's this frustrating thing in my life that I've dealt with my whole life, where you live with a group of people who think that there's like these special set of rules for them, and that like the stuff that they apply to other people doesn't apply to them. So when I see Christians here talking about fundamentalist Muslims and they worry about living Sharia law, I say, well, what about Christian law? What about what you guys are doing here? You're doing that. You're taking your religion and you're forcing it into law, and it hurts people, and it demonizes people, and it others people. And in the history of Christianity is littered with Christians murdering people for not believing what they believe. But Christians are like, oh yeah, no, it's every other religion. They're all the bad ones, not us. We've got to figure out a way to just like have a common set of rules for everybody. And if you believe in God, great. You believe in God, that's a personal belief. But we have to stop going to war about all this stuff. We have to stop dividing about religion. It's crazy. Like, you guys, the Christians can't even agree on what the doctrine says. Every Christian church has like a little bit different doctrine. And they'll go to war. If Donald Trump is successful and we wind up with like this Christian oligarchy, do you think that they're going to be kind to the Mormons, or are they going to force the Mormons into submission? Are they going to take these woke churches, the ones who like perform gay marriages or have gay pastors, or are welcoming to trans people, or who do a lot of work with immigration? Do you think they're going to be forced to capitulate, or are they going to be allowed to operate within their beliefs? We're just going to do the belief thing, right? Like, whoever's in charge, their beliefs matter, and nobody else's beliefs are true. We are literally turning into the country that we fled. And you guys are going along with it because it's your religion, but there's no end to that divide. But let's leave. Oh, let me read a bunch of super chats. Tim, thank you very much. Eric said, donating for the Jen calendar. Sully said, Jen, your heart is so big. We're all privileged to be in the presence of your kindness and warmth. We all love you. Tony said, happy hump day. Mary said, just because you're good. Johnny said, thanks. Nin said, will we have a memorial for the immigrant? Yeah, for sure. For sure we will. Shane said, no proof needed if it's the left. Duh. FOD said, RTP Gen 3036, mofo, get on that shit. Amy said, love how Trump is giving full support for Ukraine. I think I read that from Kayla. Charlotte said, speak it for everyone in the back of the room. Jen, thank you for joining the Dollar Train, and soup for my fam. Cam said, Spicy J is my favorite. Tony said, don't want to be called Nazis. Don't act like Nazis. That's good advice from our friend Tony Danza. All right, let's talk about Israel a little bit. This is Rabbi Pesach Woloki. And I just want, as conspiracy theories swirl about Charlie Kirk and about Israel's impact, I just found this alarming. Israel has its hands in everything conservative, and the reason I want to show this clip is for two reasons. One, to show how much power Israel has, but two, I need you Republicans to know that not a single one of the prominent people that you have in media, not one of them isn't funded by dark money. You have no idea who's giving them their talking points. We found out it's been Russia, it's been Israel, it's obviously like oil executives. Now it appears to be some tech executives too. But none of this stuff is grassroots. None of your stars are grassroots. They all have an idea, and they stage some sort of like cancellation, and then they get a bunch of billionaires to fund them. Charlie Kirk's budget was $40 billion more than Jimmy Kimmel's budget. He was massively funded, and none of you know who paid. It wasn't crowdfunded though.
So your last meeting with Charlie, where'd you guys leave it? Was it, okay, here's the talking points he's going out with, or was it going to keep talking?
Meaning, and it was like, and it wasn't about like, this is what you should say, which is how it's being portrayed by the conspiracy theorists, like I'm some sort of Mossad handler. It was more like talking through the issues and Charlie asking questions, and Charlie then saying, okay, I think I'm going to approach this issue this way, and this is going to be my position on it. and formulating his positions, which weren't necessarily the positions I would want him to take, even. Meaning he was, let's say his, whether it's his position on.
He's meeting with him every day, and he's trying to say, like, this is totally normal. Like, yeah, I'm his APAC handler. They call me an APAC handler, but I'm not. I just met with him every day and tried to convince him to side with me.
On U.S. aid to Israel, which I'm opposed to U.S. aid to Israel. I want it to be drawn down, and Prime Minister Netanyahu has said he wants it to also. Charlie,
we buying that? We don't want the U.S. to give more money to Israel. Even Netanyahu says that. Well, okay. Publicly he says that. You really think Netanyahu wants us to stop sending money to Israel?
Probably have that done more quickly than I would. So I'm not saying that he would just like take my position on everything, but we talked through how to talk about why is Israel actually an American interest? Why is it in America's interest to support Israel? And
why? I'm still waiting for an answer. Why is it in our interest to side with Israel?
I think he was convinced by some of the arguments that I was making. I was just sort of sharing different approaches to it, but not just approaches that I think or that Israelis think or that the Israeli government thinks, but more like working with Charlie to formulate a position that he'd be comfortable with. Because I understand where he's coming from politically, and I understand.
Are we listening to this like how curated what Charlie Kirk did was? He had all these people in his ear trying to like influence him and get him to take a position that like worked for who? For all the donors, for all the powerful. I've said it before and I'll say it every fucking time. Charlie Kirk was not a thought leader. Charlie Kirk was not a grassroots civil rights leader. Charlie Kirk was a completely funded and paid for propagandist. And you might like what he said, but they paid him to say it. And they told him what to say. They sat down and they carefully curated his responses to everything. That's the power of the billionaire class. That's the power of the rich. And you must ask yourself, why do they only fund the right? There's a very simple answer for this, and you're not going to like it. There's a very, very simple answer for this. Who the fuck would fund, as a rich person, who would fund a movement that wants to take away your money? That wants you to pay more in taxes, that wants you to have less access to the government, that wants you to have less power, that wants you to not be able to spend your money to influence elections. Who would fund that? Of course you would. Of course, if you have money, you would fund the right. They're the only ones that will bootlick you. And they do it, these weird, like, ideologically driven arguments. I believe in free speech, therefore billionaires should be able to use their money to influence elections. Oh, okay. Got it. I love free market capitalism, and that's why we can't put any regulation on these massive corporations. That's why we can't break up monopolies. That's why we have to allow them to have positions in the administration. That's why we have to allow them to buy positions in the administration. Nobody would fund me. I could have 1 million followers and nobody would fund me. The most I know of anybody getting was Pac-Man. He got like $8,000. And this was mostly like raised through donors that weren't billionaires. That's the most I know of. Do you know anybody on the left that was making more than $8,000 a month? I haven't heard of one. That's the most I had heard of. Tim Pool was getting $400,000 a week from Russia. Charlie Kirk's budget was $140 million. Ben Shapiro's budget is well over $50 million. The last time I saw, and it's got to be more than that now. The Blaze is funded. PragerU is funded. Benny Johnson is funded. Steven Crowder is. I don't know if he's still funded now that he's been run off everywhere. I don't know. But there was this time when Steven Crowder tried to like bury the Daily Wire and be like, they're funded and they're not paying me. And the Daily Wire is like, that's true. We are funded by the same people who funded Steven Crowder. It's the same rich dudes. It's the same dark money. Do you guys really think that the people that you listen to every day are coming to their conclusions honestly when they are all funded by dark money? Go watch Benny Johnson. They're getting media training every day. Go watch Benny Johnson from 4 years ago and now, and it'll become very clear to you that what Benny Johnson did is pay for a bunch of media training or get paid to do a bunch of media training and mimic Tucker Carlson down to his cadence. He's completely changed his cadence, and he's just Tucker Jr. now. And they put him in a costume, and they put him in an outfit. Make sure you wear that black shirt every day. And they build out the set, and they make the set look like a multi-million-dollar set, which a lot of times it is. They're not making that much money. They don't have the money to do what they're doing. It's all funded by dark money. And it baffles me to see all of you guys like parroting those talking points without fact-checking them. You have to know that these are paid talking points. And sometimes they might be right, sometimes they might be wrong, but your willingness to fact-check them and test your own logic and test your own reason is why we're in this position where like half our country believes things that are insanely untrue, like that Tylenol causes autism. Whoops.
To hear all opinions. The open marketplace of ideas was like a core fundamental, more than belief, and it was kind of like his existential core. Was he believed in that. He believed in the open marketplace of ideas, which is why he annoyed people like you and me by platforming Tucker Carlson and whoever else, because for Charlie, the idea that you're supposed to silence any opinion was anathema. But that came from a place of truth seeking. Do I think he went too far with it? Well, yes, we often, for all of us, our best traits we often have to a fault.
Why do you think they have a problem with Tucker Carlson, by the way? I can tell you. Richard Spencer, I believe it was Richard, or no, maybe it was, yeah, I believe it was Richard Spencer. Could have been one of the other ones. It was David Duke's family. I can't remember who it was. There was an interview I watched, and it was somebody who was like, their family was white nationalists. And they said in their household that they watched Tucker twice every night when he was on Fox News. They'd watch it once and record it and then watch it again. And the reason they loved Tucker is because he was better at messaging their message than they were. So they felt like Tucker Carlson was in line with them. They felt Donald Trump was in line with them. So these things that Donald Trump did, like Make America Great Again and America First, those were nods to the white nationalists. That was a sign to them. Hey, this is for you. We can't say it, you know we can't say it, but you get it. This is for you. And that's why these folks didn't like Tucker Carlson. That's why they don't like him now. Now they really don't like him because he's pointing out that they're entirely corrupt and that they basically own all of our politicians and half of conservative media. So they really don't like him now. But I just wanted to bring this up because, again, whatever you think of Charlie Kirk is not what they say he was. Charlie Kirk was not this grassroots, like, prophetic figure. He was a paid propagandist who got millions of dollars worth of media training and funding to become the person who he was. And you saw when he went to, I get this wrong, everything. I think it's Oxford. You saw how inept he was when he went to Oxford, and his talking points were completely obliterated by college students who knew what the fuck they were doing. Continuing on Israel, though, Mark Maron here had an interesting take. There's a Riyadh comedy festival coming up, and I've seen a lot of these comics talk about this. You got Tom Segura, what's his name? Moral? Get his last name. Pete Davidson. I don't know who that is. Patel, Mark Normand. I remember his name. Dave Chappelle, Andrew Schultz, Louis C.K., Kevin Hart. And I've heard some of them talk about this, and they're like, yeah, we're just getting paid to do this. That's why. Was it Cambridge? Here we go. I want you to hear what Mark Maron had to say about this comedy festival.
There's a Riyadh Comedy Festival. I don't know if you heard about that. This is true. There's a Riyadh.
Yeah, that's David Tell, Bowsy.
Saudi Arabia Comedy Festival. I mean, how do you even promote that? You know, like, from the folks that brought you 9/11, 2 weeks of laughter in the desert. Don't miss it. I mean, the same guy that's going to pay them is the same guy that paid that guy to bonesaw Jamal Khashoggi and put him in a fucking suitcase. But don't let that stop the yucks. It's going to be a good time. Full disclosure, I was not asked to perform at the Riyadh Comedy Festival, so it's kind of easy for me to take the high road on this one. Easy to maintain your integrity.
Hey guys, Richard watched those debates, and Charlie Kirk destroyed those people at Oxford, or Cambridge, I think it really was. He said Oxford, but yeah, all right, Richard, you got it. It's clear, Richard, that you didn't know what you were watching. I think that probably what happened, Richard, is you didn't understand a single fucking word that the other people were saying, and no matter what Charlie did, Charlie could have went out there and pulled down his pants and farted into his hand and buttercupped his opponent, and you would have been like, that's right, he owned those libs. There's nothing Charlie could have done that would have made you feel like he lost that debate. That's crazy. There's not a single person outside of MAGA who thinks Charlie Kirk came off looking good in those debates. He was absolutely outclassed in every way. Parker tore Charlie up. Charlie Kirk has every time, and Charlie Kirk then complained about it. He's like, they said they were just college kids, but these guys actually have degrees. They actually study things, and that's not fair. All right, I wanted to show you this too. There's a New Mexico state senator named Jay Block, and he went on one of those funded trips to Israel, and his daughter took to TikTok to trash her own father, and I love this.
So my dad, a Republican state senator in New Mexico, just got back from his trip to...
Oh, sorry. Amy said, follow the money. Dr. Oz is an advisor on the largest seller of folic acid supplement company, iHerb. I've heard that. I haven't looked into it. Thank you, 6 cents, Amelia. Lee said, thanks for all... Oh, that was from yesterday. Oh, these are all coming in from yesterday. I read all of those yesterday. Sums up with my super chats. Let me check. They keep going away. Pink said, my donation to Jen, all hail the goddess of what is that? Wraith? I don't know what that is. Jumar said, just saw a penis enlarger ad with penises in the ad. What the fuck, Facebook? I silenced that ad's free speech immediately. There's a Mormon castle in Maryland that was so majestic looking. Our parents told us it was where Cinderella lives. Jen Star. It's called a temple. Get it right. Thanks, Tim, for joining the Dollar Train. Eric said, donating for the Jen calendar. I think I read that one.
Goddess of Wrath is what it is.
Oh, Wrath. There was an I in there, so I thought it would Wraith. Okay, I got all this. All right, here is New Mexico State Senator Jay Block's daughter. I don't know if we have the name here. I get her first name.
To Israel, which was not like a personal vacation, by the way. It was him and a bunch of his other Republican cronies who got invited to Israel for what I can only assume was just like a propaganda trip. So yeah, it looks like my dad and a bunch of other just like loser politicians from New Mexico went to meet with Netanyahu, and I don't know what they could possibly discuss. I mean, again, it's my dad and a bunch of other like...
You guys know about buttercupping? That's when you fart in your hand and you put it over... We called it buttercupping. Maybe you guys called it something else. So where you just fart in your hand and then you cover their mouth. Sorry, I don't know. Maybe you didn't call it that.
State senators and state reps, which, like, how does meeting with Netanyahu help the local people of New Mexico? But yeah, I genuinely believe...
Everybody knows green chilies come from Israel. That's how. You would never have any green chilies in New Mexico if it wasn't for Benjamin Netanyahu.
That Israel is, like, paying my dad now to, like, peddle propaganda, because he also posted this, like, super long tweet that's, like, basically dissertation length that I'm not even gonna... I couldn't even take a screenshot of it and get even half of it. Like, that would take, like, 4 screenshots to get the entire thing. So if you want to check it out, I guess go to his Twitter profile. But he was basically...
I don't have her username. It didn't show up on this, so I think this came from TikTok. Usually you have the username. I couldn't find it.
Just peddling all of this Israeli propaganda, saying that the genocide is a lie and that, like, civilians aren't being killed and the IDF is doing everything they can to, like, minimize casualties. And I'm like, how much are they paying my dad? You know, like, how much is his soul? Because it seems like he has sold his soul to the devil and is now just peddling, like, lies. And
the crazy thing is, it doesn't take much. They take him on this trip. They pay for all their expenses. It's a great trip. They probably have first class travel. They feed him really well, and then they kick him some money for that campaign. That's the real sad part. Is like the amount of money it takes to get somebody to be loyal to Israel is shockingly low.
propaganda, which, I mean, look, he's a Republican politician. That's kind of like par for the course. But it's just a little odd to me that somebody who is a state senator, again, he's not even a U.S. senator, he's a state senator, got personally invited to Israel and met with Netanyahu. Like, what is going on here? I'm genuinely so confused, and I don't know. I think there's some, like, nefarious stuff happening, and I just genuinely hope that this will be the end of my dad's political career, because he is clearly not somebody who has, like, his constituents' best interests in mind. He just wants that Israeli propaganda money, I guess.
There you go. That was for New Mexico State Senator Jay Block. And somebody asked, like, why would Israel need loyalty from state senators? Probably because you can buy them cheaply, and a lot of these state senators are going to go on and they're going to run for Congress, and they need not only their votes, but they also need their messaging. And when they come back and they post these messages, their constituents look at this, they're like, "Oh, Israel's good. Israel likes our guy." Here's Tucker's stepping in it. I got to say this about Tucker. I think Tucker Carlson is so wrong so often. I do think that he tends to sound an awful lot like white nationalists, but Tucker right now is pretty fearless. And given all the things that have happened in connection to Israel, Tucker is not giving a fuck. And here's what he had to say yesterday, based on sources. The reason I'm showing this is because Tucker does have good sources inside the GOP, and he can call basically anybody, and they'll talk to him on the right. And here's what he has to say about what sources are telling him now on the right.
Can't. I mean, Bibi's running around. This is a fact. I'm not guessing about this because I talked to people he said it to, is running around the Middle East, his region, and his own country and telling people point blank, just stating it, I control the United States. I control Donald Trump. He's saying that. And again, I'm not guessing at all. That's a fact. And I dare them to say that's not true because it is true and they know it's true. So I'm an American. How do you think it makes me feel? Even if I didn't vote for Trump, which I did vote, I campaigned for Trump, but even if it was Joe Biden, I'm an American. You can't treat, it's too humiliating. I can't handle that. And I shouldn't have to put up with that. This is a country of 9 million people. I'm not even attacking the country. I'm attacking my leaders who are allowing my nation of 350 million people to be forced into doing things that are bad for me and my children because of some other country. Like, that is a violation of the most basic arrangement we have with our leaders, which is represent us, please, at least most of the time, and they're not. And there's an ongoing humiliation ritual designed to make us all crazy, designed to turn us into haters. I'm not going to give them the satisfaction of becoming what they call me. I'm not a hater, and I'm never going to become one. But I will never accept this. I shouldn't have to accept it. I have nothing to be ashamed of. I have no unexpressed views. I'm not hiding anything. I say exactly what I think all the time. This is wrong. And if it's not wrong, tell me how it's not wrong. Why don't you stop attacking?
It's a fair question. Ask yourself, why is Tucker saying this? Why now he's grifting just like Owens? Yeah, I'm under no illusion that Tucker Carlson won't say things in the moment that are politically expedient. However, grifting, even if he is grifting, he can still be right, and I still think that his sources are likely true. I believe this. Like, we've seen it from Israeli TV. I've seen Israeli intelligence just openly say, "Yeah, we own Trump. We own him. We have compromise on him. We own him." We've covered stories that are exactly the same, and I think that, like, this is just one of those times where I don't like Tucker. I don't want to necessarily give Tucker credibility. But Tucker has a massive audience, and I want the United States to get away from Israel. And so on this topic, in this moment, Tucker is with us on this topic. And then again, we can disagree when it's time to disagree. But on this topic, Tucker has more of an influence than I do. And so I want, not only do I want people in this audience to see a different voice that they're going to trust more than me, but I also want those people to recognize that maybe my explanation's a little different than his. And maybe our explanation's a little bit better, and maybe it leads to better things. That's why I show clips like this of Tucker Carlson. There are people in this chat who, no matter what I say, will never listen to me, but they might listen to Tucker.
Me and trying to get family members fired, which they never stop doing. Why don't you instead tell me how you disagree with me? But they can't, because they don't actually have an argument. There's no way to justify controlling the U.S. government for the purposes of another country's, whatever their plan is, expansion. There's no way to justify that. And so they just scream at you and call you names. And I guess I'm just blessed because I don't believe that about myself. So that doesn't hurt me.
I don't care about that part. I'll just say this, that like the people in my life that are conservative, almost all of them now view Israel as a bad actor. Almost all of them want a ceasefire and a two-state solution. And they've been friends with me forever. They don't watch this show. They'll never listen to a thing that I say, but they do listen to Candace Owens. They do listen to Tucker Carlson, and they did listen to Charlie Kirk when Charlie Kirk was saying these things as well. And so, ironically, like my friends coming to the same conclusion that I did had absolutely nothing to do with me. It had to do with them getting an argument from their side of the aisle. And if that's what it takes, I'm fine with that. I'll swallow my pride. I'll let people praise Tucker Carlson. As long as it gets us to the right place. I don't think my feelings are more important than the lives of Palestinians. And the more people we get on board with ending this conflict, the better. Conflict's too soft. Genocide. Here's Chip Roy this morning, because while you have folks like Tucker who are talking about things that really matter to us, our government being captivated by Israel. Genocide that we all care about, we seem to care about. Chip Roy has a different opinion on what's important. And this is what I want to show. I want to show the difference between what the right thinks is currently important and what we, the rest of America, thinks is currently important. And here's what the Republicans want right now think is most important. This is what they took the floor of the House for, or this is why they took the floor of the House today, to talk about this.
I mean, is anybody paying attention?
Yeah.
To what's happening in London?
No.
I'm going to say it here on the floor of the House and get the scorn of people when I say,
what's happening in London? You guys know what he's talking about real quick? What's happening in London? Anybody? Even Republicans. What's happening in London? Now he's going to tell you. Oops.
You've got a massive Muslim takeover of the United Kingdom going on right before our eyes.
Fucking replacement theory. Oh my God. There is no bigger bitch in the world than someone's like, they're replacing us. Look, have some confidence. Believe in yourself. Silly what? Believe in yourself. They can't take over if you're not easy to take over. They can't take your job if you're good at your job. They can't take your government if you're good at governing. The fragility of these folks, like, where's the American exceptionalism? Where is this pride? Everybody's just a threat to you. Everybody that looks different than you, it's a takeover.
We say, Chip, well, what is wrong with that? Well, I've got some pretty strong concerns about Sharia law and whether that'll be forced upon the American people. In
America, we have Christian law. We have Christian nationalism. Sharia law is no threat to any of us. Sharia law is only a threat to other religions who want to establish the law based on their religion. I got an idea. Let's not fucking do that for any religion. Let's do that. Let's live. If you're Muslim, you can be here. You can live by the dictates of your own conscience. And if you're Christian, you can be here and you can live by the dictates of your own conscience and keep your goddamn religion out of our fucking government. That's the answer. But Chip Roy and these sassy bunch of bitches, these whiny bunch of bitches, it's not fair that there's other people trying to do exactly what we're trying to do. Yeah, maybe the problem is what you're trying to do, Chip. Maybe that's the problem. However, the mayor of London, who I remember specifically Donald Trump saying he was gonna institute Sharia law, and Mamdani, who is going to institute Sharia law, and Barack Obama, who's going to institute Sharia law, and Ilhan Omar, who's going to institute Sharia law. These motherfuckers, God, when are they going to do it? They haven't even gotten around to talking about it yet. They're not even trying. What are they waiting for? obviously Chip Roy's not wrong here, right? Obviously Chip Roy knows what he's talking about. Obviously this Sharia law thing's very real. I remember watching Fox News in like 2002, 2003, 2004, where every time a mosque was built in this country, Fox News went on a 3-day tirade like, this close to 9/11. It's like, bitch, it's 2005. It's 2005, and also it's okay. It's okay. I've been hearing about Sharia law since 2001. That's 2000. Yeah, that's the first year I heard about Sharia law, 2001. And you guys have been fear-mongering me about this for 24 years. And we don't have Sharia law, and nobody's even tried it yet. Not one, not a fucking city, not a town, not a community, not an HOA, nothing. Nobody has tried it. It's like being scared of a meteor every fucking day. I'm nervous about this meteor. That just like never comes. You just live your whole life afraid of something that's not happening. By the way, we're talking about fucking London. Could they do that? Why are you worried about this on the house of or on the floor of the house here? What are you worried about right now, Chip Roy? This is what's important. This is what you guys voted for. This is what your people are wasting our fucking time with right now.
Case the people of the United Kingdom. I've got pretty strong concerns about people
Sangria law for everybody
who want to see Israel's destruction, who were happy about October 7th, who were elected. And
I'm worried about these people who say they don't want Israel to exist. That's not fair. Only Israel gets to wipe other people off the face of this planet. I can't believe people look at Israel and go, they shouldn't exist, while Israel looks at the Palestinians and says they shouldn't exist. This isn't fair, guys. It's not fair that people are saying things about Israel that they want to do to Israel, that Israel is absolutely doing right fucking now. You know who hasn't been the beneficiary of immigration law? Muslims. Can you point to a country that you've had like Muslims immigrate to where they weren't met with a band of racists saying that their very existence is a threat to national security? I'm like the bitch assery of America, and this is what like the boomer generation created. You came from parents who fought in wars. Some of you went to Vietnam and came back, and that radicalized you. But mostly you've been the beneficiary of hard work of a century of people that came before you, and you walked into the easiest time ever to make a living, to own a house, to raise a family. And you didn't really have anything to complain about. So what you did is you turned the entire world into a bunch of hysterical little bitches. Complaining about, these other religions are scary. Oh, look at these people wearing a hijab. We can't have that in our town. You're just all hysterical little bitches. And you guys got to shut the fuck up now. We've done this. It's 25 years of my life I've been hearing about Sharia law, and it never shows up. Like you guys are playing reruns of TV shows nobody gave a fuck about. And somehow it still works on Republicans. Somehow the Republicans watch this and they're like, oh yeah, I should be scared of that. I should be. You don't think that that's a byproduct of like every movie that you've ever watched? You don't think that's a byproduct of the conditioning that you've been given by American media your entire life? Who's the bad guy like in every action movie? Who do you think are the bad guys in real life? And then does that reflect who the bad guys are in the movies that you watch? Yeah, every time. Every time.
The United Kingdom. Some might say that we've seen that here in the United States.
Some would be wrong.
What are we going to do about that? We have
nothing. Because it's not a real issue. Let's do fucking nothing. Because it's not happening. None of that is a real threat. None of it's happening. Why are you screaming at us? Why the fuck are you talking about this? Nobody's life is threatened by Sharia law right now. It's not even happening. Nobody's trying to take over with Sharia law. These are just other people existing with their own religious beliefs. And by the way, if you're coming here to America, I think you're probably coming here with the understanding that you're not going to live under Sharia law. The internet exists. I think everybody's pretty clear that like America is not a place that lives under Sharia law. So they're just gonna come here and like create these little Sharia law terrorist cells, and then one day just everybody in Congress is gonna stand up at once and be like, "Ha ha! Tricked you fuckers! Sharia law for everybody!" And you're like, "I told you so." I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm sorry. I'm not frightened by this. No, this isn't even remotely scary to me. Is anybody? We got Republicans here that are afraid of this. Like, raise your hand. Is this making you nervous? Are you afraid of Sharia law right now?
51.5 million people who are foreign born in the United States. They have about 20 to 25 million kids. That puts that well over 20-something% of our population. It's the highest such number in the history of our country. People say,
"Oh no! Brown kids? Their parents weren't born here? This is an existential threat. We must act now. We've never had more people whose parents were immigrants, brown immigrants, than now. Oh no!" Okay. Cool. I don't fucking care. Nobody should fucking care. This isn't a real thing. I understand that people take Chip Roy seriously. I don't know why. This is the dumbest shit ever. This is like if this guy was on a street corner, you'd be like, "Bro, you got to shut the fuck up. Go inside. Go inside. Get some help." This is the nonsense you see like from somebody who is, on drugs, walking around a park, screaming about Sharia law. If he was in a public place saying this, you'd be like, "Bro, no, do something else. You got to go. We're not listening to you. This is psycho talk."
Wasn't that great?
Someone get your dad. Listen to this part.
People say, "Wasn't that great?" Is it?
Yes. Yes, it's great.
Are we teaching people about Western civilization? Are we teaching people about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the rule of law? Are we teaching them Western values? Are we teaching them God exists?
Yes to all of that, except for the God exists things. Shut the fuck up. You're not supposed to teach them that. That's your religion, you dumb bitch. And now the truth comes out. Are we teaching them the Constitution? Yeah, if they go to school. Yeah, that's part of it. Like, do any of your kids not learn about the Constitution? What curriculum doesn't include learning about the Constitution? And then he throws God in there. And that's the real view. Like, our God's the best God, and their God's not a real God, but our God's totally the real God and the best God, and so we can't have them here. If they're coming here, they have to accept our Sky Daddy, not their Sky Daddy. That's who Republicans are. Make no doubt about it. They don't give a fuck about any of this stuff. They wake up scared, shitting their pants every day that they're going to be harmed by a brown person.
Are we teaching them the importance of freedom?
Yes. That's why they're here, dipshit.
Or are we teaching an entire generation or two or three to run around complaining about what's wrong and why the
What are you doing, dude? Are we going to teach them to just stand up and complain about shit that they don't like? Or are we going to stand up and complain about shit that we don't like? Bro, what are you doing?
The entire world is against them because of their skin color, their sex, their supposed gender identity, whatever the hell category we create to make people.
Everybody knows that there's no such thing as racism or bigotry or homophobia or misogyny. Everybody knows that the only hate in this world is the hate for Jesus Christ and white Christians. There is no other hate, only hatred of white Christians in this country. I get to be the victim. You don't get to be victims. It's only me. It's only us. We are the eternal victims. We got the biggest military in the world. We're the only superpower that consistently invades people. We're the only superpower that consistently goes into other countries and changes their governments to make them friendly so that we can steal all their resources. But the attacks are on the Christian whites, and we are the only victims in this world. How dare other marginalized communities bring it up? We are the only ones that are allowed to be victims. And it's hurting my feelings that other people are being victims now.
Have an excuse for not just stepping up and achieving the American
dream. Crazy. Imagine saying this. There is There is no reason we should have DEI. We need to roll back affirmative action. What did those things do? Well, they made it so you couldn't discriminate against people based on their race or their gender or their skin color. And so they couldn't achieve the American dream. Okay. So what's the solution to all this? Oh, we got to get rid of all that shit. We got to go back to so that people have an excuse. Like, what does he do? What are the Republicans, like, what's their messaging? Do they ever sit around? They need to hire somebody in the Republican Party to just like raise their hand and be like, let me be devil's advocate here. They must just sit around and jack each other off. Like, there's no pushback. This is the most insane thing. What? Christian men are the most persecuted on earth. And now you're letting Muslims exist in our country? And we're not freaking the fuck out about this? No, we're not, dude. We honestly don't give a fuck because we're normal people. I want to go down to, let's see, what is it, 11:30? Let me check messages real quick and then we'll move on. TPUSA is hiring older millennial today. Is that real? Did he really? Is that real? Please tell me that's true. Please tell me that's true. Please be true. Does anybody know if that's true? Let's see. Oh man, you guys are fucked. I don't see anything on Twitter. I don't know if that's true. Does anybody have a confirmation of that? Imagine interviewing that dipshit and be like, "This is the guy we need." He's been copying all your content. That's how he gets all his clicks. I can't wait to see him be put out. Put him on a debate stage, please. Put that fucking dipshit on a debate stage every fucking day. One of the most remarkably unintelligent humans I've ever come across. I don't know if that's true. I don't see any confirmation of that, but please do that, Turning Point USA. Please hire this man. Charlie Kirk can handle college students. Older millennial. That's going to be tough. The amount of people that are going to bring up that he got drunk and pissed himself every time. That's going to be, watch your ratings tank. I hope that that's true. If anybody finds confirmation of that, let me know. I mean, he already doesn't have real opinions of his own. He already just copies everybody else's opinions. So I guess, like, if you think that he's going to be a good messenger, maybe that's a good hiring. Soup for my fam. Thanks for joining the dollar train. I appreciate that. I wonder if they'll pay his legal fees for the money he stole from his followers. Whatever happened with that? Did that turn out to be true? Cam Higby is going around HBCUs. Yeah, we showed that at the beginning. I can't stop peeing. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay. I want to show this from Indonesia. I just want to point out that all these other countries are far more brave than us. We are, America is a country full of pussies who are afraid to do the right thing, and we worship money. And the right wing of this country worships money over God every single time. But check out what Indonesia said yesterday, the same day that Trump showed up to yell at them and tell them that immigrants were going to destroy their countries and that renewable energy was the devil and that escalators are his enemy. Here's what Indonesia said.
Indonesia today is one of the largest contributors to United Peacekeeping Forces. We believe in the United Nations. We will continue to serve where peace needs guardians, not with just words, but with boots on the ground. If and when the United Nations Security Council and this great assembly decide Indonesia is prepared to deploy 20,000 or even more of our sons and daughters to help secure peace in Gaza or elsewhere.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be cool if we could be proud of our president? Wouldn't that be so cool? Boots on the ground, Mr. Jones. Don't stop it. Stop it. Stop it, Robert. Stop it. Wouldn't that be so cool if we weren't like, we actually, the problem is the Palestinians. Wouldn't that be so cool if we could be proud of them? That'd be awesome. I want to show this, and I want to take like a personal moment here. Saw this clip, and I couldn't figure out actually where to put it in the show. I didn't want to start with it because I want to make sure everybody was here for it, and I don't really have a whole lot of other topics to tie into this. But I came across this clip from Jasmine Crockett. There was a vote held on the Senate, and Republicans were slandering Democrats for this. It was like a resolution to condemn political violence, but in that resolution, it said it's always like whereas, and it was whereas Charlie Kirk was a true like defender of. I can even find it. Let's read it actually. What did they call it? Resolution. I just want to read it here because I want to give context. Whereas Charlie Kirk, born in 93, was a courageous American patriot whose life was tragically and unjustly cut short in an act of political violence on September 10th at UVU. Whereas Charlie Kirk was a devoted Christian who boldly lived out his faith with conviction, courage, and compassion. Whereas Charlie Kirk was a dedicated husband to his wife, Erica Kirk, and a loving father to their daughter and son, exemplifying the virtues of faith, fidelity, and fatherhood. Whereas Charlie Kirk was a fierce defender of America and founding and its timeless principles of life, liberty, limited government, and individual responsibility. Whereas Charlie Kirk, at 18 years old, founded Turning Point to identify, educate, train, and organize students to promote the principles of fiscal responsibility, free markets, and limited government. Whereas Charlie Kirk became one of the most prominent voices in America, engaging in respectful civil discourse across college campuses, media platforms, and national forums, always seeking to elevate truth, foster understanding, and strengthen the republic. Whereas Charlie Kirk personified the values of the First Amendment, exercising his God-given right to speak freely, challenge prevailing narratives, and did so with honor, courage, and respect for his fellow Americans. Whereas the assassination was not only a heinous act of violence, but a sobering reminder of the growing threat posed by political extremism and hatred in our society. Whereas such acts of politically motivated violence are antithetical to the principles of a free republic. Whereas the rise in targeted violence against individuals for their political beliefs undermines the very fabric of the constitutional democracy and chills the free exchange of ideas. There we go. So the resolve, the House of Representatives condemns in the strongest possible terms the assassination of Charlie Kirk and all forms of political violence, condemns and honors the dedicated law enforcement and emergency personnel for their commends and honors the dedicated law enforcement and emergency personnel for their tireless efforts in finding the suspect, extends its deepest condolences to the Kirk family, honors the life, leadership, and legacy of Charlie Kirk, whose steadfast dedication to the Constitution, civil discourse, and biblical truth, which is a crazy thing to say. Like, biblical truth is such a fucking insane thing to be like that. I would have voted against it just for that. Regardless of who this was, I would have voted against this because of that, because I don't like the idea that we have started saying biblical truth. The Bible is not true. You might believe that the Bible is true, but like there's no evidence that what's in there is true, that it happened. There's no evidence of a worldwide flood. The timeline's all fucked up. It doesn't line up with science. Calling something a biblical truth is concerning, and calls upon all Americans, regardless of race, party affiliation, and creed, to reject political violence, recommit to respectful debate, uphold American values, and respect one another as fellow Americans. So Republicans went out, and this passed. It's a resolution. It's absolutely meaningless. It's another example of our government never doing a goddamn thing. I don't even know why this is important. In fact, I don't think it's important at all. I don't think that you need to have resolutions in this way to virtue signal. But what Republicans did is they used all of the people voting no as a weapon. I saw Andy Biggs do this, and like, the Democrats wouldn't even vote to condemn the violence against Charlie Kirk. If the resolution said we condemn violence against Charlie Kirk, or we condemn political violence, it would have been signed. But there are a lot of things in that statement that not only do people disagree with, but there are communities, specifically the black community, that feels, and I would say rightfully so, that Charlie Kirk's rhetoric was an attack on them. It was a consistent attack on them. And to then stand there in solidarity with these folks and sign on to that resolution would be to ignore the harms that Charlie Kirk did and the lasting harm that Charlie Kirk has done. We saw Cam Higbee go to an HBCU with that hat on, doing what Charlie Kirk did. You think that those people just hate him because he's white? If I went to Tennessee State University and I put out a table, do you think I would be run off like that? No. They might not like that I'm there, but I wouldn't be met with that same response. So it's not because he's white. It's because of what he represents to this community. Let me play the clip.
One of the things I do want to point out that's not been laid out that honestly hurts my heart is when I saw the no votes, there were only 2 Caucasians. For the most part, the only people that voted no were people of color, because the rhetoric that Charlie Kirk continuously put out there was rhetoric that specifically targeted people of color. And so it is unfortunate that even our colleagues could not see how harmful his rhetoric was specifically to us. And I can tell you that a month prior to him passing away, he had actually gotten out on his podcast. I wasn't aware of this at the time, but he got out there and he was talking negatively about me directly. So if there was any way that I was going to honor somebody who decided that they were just going to negatively talk about me and proclaim that I was somehow involved in the great white replacement, yeah, I'm not honoring that kind of stuff, especially as a civil rights attorney, and understanding how I got to Congress, knowing that there were people that died, people that were willing to die, that worked to make sure that voices like mine could exist in this place. So to me, just like we wanted to make sure that those Confederate relics were taken down, the idea of a new age relic being propped up was something that I just could not subscribe to. And it is unfortunate that more of my colleagues, even on my side of the aisle, could not see the amount of harm that this man was attempting to inflict upon our communities.
I didn't show that as a way to say, like, how do I want to put this? I didn't show that because I think that I agree with Crockett and stood with Crockett. I do agree with everything she just said. I don't agree that I handled it correctly. And I don't agree that a lot of us handled it correctly. I think that the assassination of Charlie Kirk alarmingly showed a lot of us that, like, we still have work to do. And I know this because of reactions that I got. We did have Athena came on, and I apologize, I can't remember who was the other gentleman that came on now. Smitty, right? They came on and they explained on Monday, and that was eye-opening to me. But, like, I like to think that that through this platform that we've created a space where people feel safe, and regardless of your race, your gender, your sexuality, your country of origin, your nationality, you should feel safe. I like to think that about our community, but it's not true. And we had multiple people after Charlie Kirk lost his life leave our community, and I haven't been able to hear from all of them, but I've heard from a few of them, and they're people that I care about a lot, and people who I think were valuable members of our community. And the message from them is that they no longer felt like this was a safe place for them, because when shit hit the fan, a lot of us, like, kind of cowardly stepped back and said, "Oh, we've got to tone it down." And I think that, like, some of those calls for toning down, like the violent rhetoric, were fine, but the silencing of certain people, and even my response on the day that it happened, I know Dean's been heavily criticized for the things he said. I think we can all look back at that moment and say, in that moment, we all became very selfish, and we all put Charlie Kirk first. Most of us, especially the ones that look like me, and me included. Admittedly, My first thought during all of that was about Charlie Kirk's family, about his children. That was my first thought, because I have a child, and that, like, so that made sense to me. Politically, I'm involved, and I have a child, and I could put myself in those shoes. And so it was an easy move for me. In doing so, I ignored the fact that everybody was affected by that moment very differently, and everybody was affected by Charlie Kirk very differently. And the effects that Charlie Kirk had on me was I thought he was a dipshit. And I thought he said a lot of harmful things, but ultimately, like, that harm was never brought on me. And when I saw this clip this morning, I thought about those people that have left our community, that have felt unsafe in our community. And I recognized that the work that I think that I've done and isn't complete, and I think that most of us probably still have work to do. I've been openly critical, and I'm not necessarily making this same. I'm not making the same comparison, but like I've brought up before that the Catholic Church and the Germans for years celebrated Hitler's birthday as a national holiday, and during that time, there were marginalized communities who were deeply affected, imprisoned, jailed, on the run, in fear for their life because of his policy and his rhetoric. And I'm safe at every Turning Point USA event. I'm anywhere Charlie Kirk goes, where he's safe, I'm safe. But that's not the case for everybody. And so in seeing this video, I just want to say, like, I can't add more words to what Jasmine Crockett said. She is fiery, and she speaks her mind, and she's an excellent communicator, and she is fearless, and I respect her. And this tone was just different than anything I'd really ever seen from her. This to me felt like a betrayal. Like she felt she had been betrayed by these people. And the more I think about that, the more I think that she's right. And we have spent a lot of time on Charlie Kirk. And we've spent a lot of time dancing around the subject to make sure that we weren't canceled, that we didn't have a clip that went viral, that didn't get us in trouble. And in doing so, we stepped over those who were actually affected by Charlie Kirk, and we ignored those voices for our own selfish desires. So I just want to say, I know that a lot of these, I know that some of these people have left our community. And they may never return. And I won't even say that that you were wrong to leave it, or that the community necessarily is the place for you or the safe place for you. I just want to say that I'm sorry, and I just want to say that I hear you, and I also want to say that I'm embarrassed that it takes coming across a clip like this to recognize that, and I want to say to those people that I have work to do, and if you find it in your heart to forgive us and the community, we would love to hear from you, and we'd love to welcome you back. But most importantly, I just want you to know from myself, and I'm only speaking for myself, I'm very sorry, and I think that we need to take that moment as an opportunity to recognize that there are people who are hurt every day, and there are people who are not hurt every day. And those of us who are not hurt every day, when something comes out like this that is alarming and startling, it affects us in a way that other groups of people are affected every single day, and they move on with their life every single day, and they keep fighting every single day. And the reality is, most of us, we had to take a break. I remember I got tons of messages at the end of that live saying, "Take care of yourself, take care of your mental health," and that's important. And I did need to do that. But in taking that time, there was a part of me that was like, yeah, this is a tough day for me. And I didn't think outside of myself. That's a difficult thing to do. And as somebody who is a public figure, I will do my best to react to those situations differently and try and step out of my own shoes. But I did want to say that just publicly. I apologize if those of you who have left the community are here and you're listening today. Please know I mean that. And I will do my best to do better in the future. All right. That's going to be impossible to move on from. I don't know how we move on from that. Let's read some messages. Zach said these are the same people that say we need a religion in the government. Tex said I can't believe you're apologizing. Pathetic. Well, go fuck yourself, Tex. Go fuck yourself, Tex. I have the ability to look outside of myself, Tex. You don't. You are a racist and you are a bigot and you are unapologetically a racist and a bigot. And I think what's pathetic is you. I think that you have a daughter, Tex. I'm sorry for any of you who don't know Tex. Tex is a white nationalist bigot who just recently on my own Instagram said, "Would you rather have your child go to a black school or a Christian school?" And by the way, the answer is a black school because just statistically speaking, my child's more likely to be harmed at a Christian school than an all black school. But what's pathetic is like this new brand of masculinity from the right, from people who are not men. Like your leaders are the most fragile, thin-skinned bitches imaginable. Every right-wing hero is a pathetic, fragile bitch. And I mean all of them. Everybody that you think is great that talks about masculinity, they're all pathetic. They're all terrified of things that are different than them. They all other people. And the reason for that, Tex, and all of you, is because inherently you know that you are mediocre. And every single person that comes along is a threat to you because not only are you mediocre, you're comfortable in your mediocrity. You're not really willing to change. You're not really willing to grow. You're not really willing to adapt. So like I think that like anybody with an open mind, what's more pathetic? Refusing to acknowledge that there are things that you have blind spots and that sometimes those blind spots can hurt people? Or doubling down and saying, I'm right about everything? In what scenario is the person who's like, I'm always right, I never apologize, not the pathetic one? I worry for you, Tex. I worry for your family. I worry for your loved ones. I worry for your daughter because you're advocating for a world that will be a much worse place for her. And you think that the threat to your daughter is from the outside and the threat to your daughter is within. The clip of one of the clips that I have out there that's like gone the most viral is me acknowledging that the greatest threat to my daughter and your daughter is somebody that looks like you and looks like me, and most likely they're going to espouse Christian beliefs. They're going to talk openly about Christianity because they'll use that as a shield as they are abusive. I honestly wear it as a badge of honor, Tex, that you just called an apology pathetic. I think that says a lot more about you than it says about me. Now we can move on. The doctor. All right. So in Trump's press conference, when he was talking about Tylenol and acetaminophen, I don't remember if it was Bhattacharya or McCary that cited this study. Now, the study that has been cited by Republicans, and this is how pathetic the Republicans have become. The study that they're citing about the links of Tylenol and autism in pregnancy are dubious at best. The person that they're citing is Dr. Andrea Bocciarelli. He was the dean of, I don't remember, the T.H. Chan School of Public Health. And that's who they're citing. Now let's talk about what they're citing. The dean of Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, who consulted with top Trump health officials ahead of Monday's morning about Tylenol and autism, was paid at least $150,000 to serve as an expert witness on behalf of plaintiffs in lawsuits against the maker of Tylenol. That's not discrediting by itself. Expert witnesses get paid to do that. I don't think the fact that they got paid means that they are wrong, but they are wrong, and here's how they'll explain it. Dr. Andrea Bocciarelli, a leading epidemiologist, disclosed the figure in a court deposition he gave in the summer of 2023 that is publicly available in federal court filings and was reviewed by the New York Times. He had previously disclosed that he had served as an expert witness in the case, but not how much money he had made. A federal judge dismissed the suit for lack of reliable scientific evidence. And the scientific evidence that was presented in this lawsuit is the exact scientific evidence that Trump and RFK are now promoting as the science behind this. Dr. Bocciarelli was the senior author on a recent scientific review that he conducted with collaborators in the Econ School of Medicine at Mount Sinai and other universities. The study was cited during Monday's White House press conference. Dr. Bocciarelli declined an request for interview on Tuesday. A spokeswoman for Harvard's Public Health School, Stephanie Simon, said that Dr. Bocciarelli confirmed that his testimony in the deposition was accurate and that his work on the case culminated in the deposition. He worked just a handful of additional hours following the deposition. Dr. Bocciarelli said in a statement on Monday that he had discussed his team's scientific findings and this recommendation from our review article with RFK and the director of NIH, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, in recent weeks. He said he appreciated their interest in the study. The scientific review, however, did not produce new data on birth outcomes, but evaluated 46 existing studies that examined whether acetaminophen use during pregnancy was linked to a higher risk of neurodevelopmental disorders in children, including autism spectrum disorder and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. The review concluded that there was an association between exposure to acetaminophen during pregnancy and the risk of neurodevelopmental disorders in children. Now, this word association is very, very important because association doesn't necessarily mean anything. You're looking for a causative effect. You would want this to say there is a causative link between exposure to acetaminophen and the risk of neurodevelopmental disorders in children, but it doesn't say that. It says association. During the deposition, Dr. Bocciarelli was asked how much he had been paid for his work on the lawsuits, which included preparing expert reports. He said he worked 200 hours. That gave him $150,000. The litigation in which he served as the expert witness involved hundreds of lawsuits filed by families who claimed that their children were given diagnoses of autism or ADHD after Tylenol use during pregnancy. Kenvue, which has been the maker of Tylenol since it was spun off from Johnson & Johnson in 2023, along with major retailers that sell generic versions of acetaminophen, were named as defendants in the litigation. In the decision to dismiss the lawsuits, the judge, Denise Coate, agreed with the lawyers for the defendants that Dr. Bocciarelli had cherry-picked and misrepresented study results in his testimony and was therefore unreliable. But in Monday's press conference, the FDA commissioner, Dr. Marty Makary, cited the findings of the scientific review by Dr. Bocciarelli and his collaborators. 4 weeks ago, Mount Sinai Harvard study reviewed all the existing literature and found the overwhelming body of evidence points to, again, an association. Sure, you'll be able to find a study to the contrary. That's how science works. But to quote the dean of Harvard School of Public Health, there is a causal relationship between prenatal acetaminophen use and neurodevelopmental disorders of ADHD and autism spectrum disorder. Now, this seems like a lie. Dr. Bocciarelli then came out on Monday and distanced himself from Dr. Makary's description of the view, saying, further research is needed to confirm the association and determine causality. But based on existing evidence, I believe that caution about acetaminophen during pregnancy, especially heavy or prolonged use, is warranted. They lied to you. They lied to you. In front of the nation, they scared you and tried to tell you that there is a causal relationship between prenatal acetaminophen use and neurodevelopmental disorders of ADHD and autism. And Dr. Bocciarelli, who has already been slapped down in court because he didn't provide scientific evidence that showed a causal relationship, had to come out and clarify that. What do you have to say about that, Republicans that are here? What do you have to say about the fact that your dipshit president, who couldn't explain any of this, and a dipshit HHS secretary, and a dipshit NIH director, all came out and lied right to your fucking faces? We're left with one of two options. They're liars or they're fucking stupid. Which one is it? And why did they do it? That's the other part that I'm trying to figure out here. There are some links. Somebody brought it up earlier that I think it was Bhattacharya or maybe Dr. Oz that they had stock in a competitor. Yeah, it can't. Yeah, you'd think it can't be legal, right? There's no such thing as legal with this government. Our government is allowed to do illegal things now. There is no law and order for this government. They get to say and do whatever they want. Why can't it be both? That's fair. Guess it could be both. Kara said Tex is a bitch. That's fair. It is bitch shit. Like, being a racist is literally just like being a bitch. In the depth, let's see. I think that was it. So explain it to me. Dr. Oz wanted to sell his new snake oil. Yeah, he wants to sell his supplements every day. Watch this now. The real threat to our country right now is the oligarchs, and the oligarchs are running everything. And the oligarchs think because they're rich that they know everything. This is Dr. Dave. I think this is Dr. Dave, and I think this is Dan Wilson here on the right. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure this guy's name is Dr. Dave. I didn't have the name. Am I right on this? Those that know, you know that this is Dr. Dave, right? That's his online personality. You know. Did you name the source? Where can I find it for Papa Baggins? The source of the study. The source of the study, which I've shown. I can go back to it. You can Google it, but it is is the name of the study. You could just look up the Harvard public health dean and look at the study, and you can probably find the link. I don't think I had the link in here. We read through part of the study a couple days ago. Actually, this might be it. Sorry, it's moving slow. No, that's another article. Here's the study, maybe. Good night. This is moving slow. Yeah, here it is. So Journal .biomed central. The link is in the story. If you click on where it says the study, it's blue. You can click on the link there. So if you go to our sources that we drop in Discord, you can find it here. But here's the study, and there's the conclusion. And again, here's the conclusion from the study. Our analysis using the navigation guide thus support evidence consistent with an association between acetaminophen exposure during pregnancy and increased instances of NDDs. Appropriate and immediate steps should be taken to advise pregnant women to limit acetaminophen consumption to protect their offspring's neurodevelopment. Again, they're using the word here with association. They never concluded any sort of causality, which is what you need. That's the scientific evidence required to say that Tylenol does cause these conditions, which they don't have. Tylenol faked the moon landings. All right, so I think this is Dr. Dave, and then I think this is Dan. The other guy's name is Dan Wilson. Is it Wilson? But this is, again, going back to it, what we have currently in this administration is you just have rich people, and rich people have so much credibility with MAGA. If they're rich, they just believe them. What you're going to see here is two doctors arguing with two tech CEOs about medicine, and watch how uncomfortable it gets and how inept they are at explaining this. And this is why you put doctors in charge of medicine in the government and not meth head brainworm grifting lawyers. I would highly recommend that the next administration get scientific experts to run the CDC and the NIH rather than just grifting online personalities.
And suddenly, just like that, just like a light switch, measles comes out of nowhere.
Not nowhere.
Sorry, to preface this, they're talking about the rise in measles cases, and these people think that the measles vaccine doesn't work, that it's been overstated. So that's what this discussion is about.
Just like that, just like a light switch, measles comes out of nowhere.
Not nowhere.
Not a light switch.
How's it come out of? They're
when
on
kids
an
stop
island,
vaccinating.
They're isolated. Where's the measles coming from?
So you think Samoa is isolated? Wait, do you think airplanes don't get to Samoa?
Where's it coming from?
From people who are carrying.
This guy over here. No, just don't engage with them. What they're saying is that the measles outbreak that was caused by a bunch of people in Samoa, they stopped vaccinating their children, in large part because RFK told them it was dangerous. So they stopped vaccinating their children, a group of people in Samoa, and then you had a measles outbreak. And what I think what these guys are trying to say is that they genetically made that outbreak, or that the outbreak didn't exist.
From unvaccinated
people who are carrying the virus. It's not an isolated tribe. It's a civilized place.
Unvaccinated people who carry the virus. Do you know how reservoirs work? Viral reservoirs?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know that measles circulates in the population among unvaccinated people?
Yeah, what do you mean?
He did not know. That was a lie. And this motherfucker over here, he's just death staring. He has no clue. I have money. I'm more important than you. I know more because my shoes are expensive.
Out of thin air, like measles exists. You understand that, right? So when people don't vaccinate and it appears like you're claiming this is some kind of magic or something?
So why aren't all of these unvaccinated people in the United States, they're not all getting measles? Why?
A lot of them you don't automatically get measles. You have to come into contact with it.
Why are we just seeing this now?
Stop telling me billionaires are smart. Stop it. Stop saying that they're so much smarter than us and that's how they got money. No. They're all criminals. They're just crooks. They cheat the system. They're all just cheaters. They're not smarter than us. That's such a fucking dumb thing to say. Well, then how come not all unvaccinated people get measles? Because that's not how any of this shit works, dummy. If you're surrounded by people who are vaccinated and there's herd immunity, you're most likely not going to get it because the virus can't move. It requires a host. But no, well, then shouldn't everybody get it?
Well, there's herd immunity with measles. You know that, right?
Because vaccination rates are getting low enough that herd immunity is eroding.
Because of RFK?
In part,
he's
yes.
the number one
He's been working for
spreader
decades
of this propaganda.
to
Yeah.
spread misinformation about measles
It's not
vaccines.
just him, but he's the number one guy. I mean, you guys help a lot too. Like you're probably in the top 5. Like,
thank you.
Yeah,
you can get to number one day, though. I mean, I have faith in you. You'll get there.
So can you tell me how
normalize calling these bitches stupid to their face? That's what we need to do. Somebody said it shouldn't be this easy to get a mic. No, give every billionaire a microphone, but make sure that there's somebody across the aisle from them that's going to ask questions or across the stage. Just make them answer questions. It is remarkable how quickly these people are exposed as just not living on Earth. It is remarkable how easy it is to tear apart their arguments. But again, they have a following because they're rich, and people are like, oh, rich equals smart, so they must be smart.
All-cause mortality has dropped after they introduced the measles vaccine. Can you cite a study that looked at all-cause mortality of kids, showing that it dropped after they introduced the measles vaccine? Because I couldn't find one.
I sent you one. That was on the list of studies.
Didn't read it, did you?
Could you cite one? Yes, the one I sent you, bitch. And now they're going to explain it.
I have.
Yeah. So let me describe it to you. So it was actually this is actually a really interesting story. So measles vaccines were not rolled out at the same time in each country all around the world. They were rolled out in separate years, sometimes in separate decades. And 3 countries in the study, I think it's Denmark, Sweden, and the U.S. They looked at the time of rollout for the measles vaccine, and they saw a precipitous drop in all-cause mortality that was actually greater than what they would expect with just measles mortality going away. So scientists thought, oh, that's really interesting. Let's confirm that. The paper I sent you confirms that. It's a precipitous drop in all-cause mortality every single time, sometimes in a different decade, right after the measles vaccine was rolled out. And it was found that measles
100% of the time seems like a good indicator that it's working.
Actually can infect your memory B and T cells. Do you know what the significance of that is?
Yeah.
No. Yeah?
Why don't you just keep talking?
Memory B and T.
Answer your questions.
If you know, you can just say yes, and we.
This guy. Why don't you just keep talking, okay? We're not here to answer questions. We're the expert. No idea. Do you know what that means? Yeah. What does it mean? You explain it. We've all seen enough debates to know what this is right here. We've all watched enough debates to know exactly what this posture and this language is. These are 2 prideful men who are getting their pants pulled down, and they don't want to admit it, so they're pretending that they actually know, but they're just not going to engage anymore.
Can move on.
Just talk.
I will continue to educate you. Sure, memory B and T cells are cellular immunity. Your immune system depends on these cells in order to create antibodies and exert cellular immunity against pathogens. So measles can infect these cells, and when the measles infects those cells, they die. They're either cleared by the immune system or they die off from the measles infection. So that means that these kids who are getting measles, their immune systems their memory is essentially getting wiped in a sense. And it's a phenomenon called immune amnesia that is well characterized now. It's characterized mechanistically based on what I just said. And that is an explanation as to why the all-cause mortality dropped further than what we would expect for just measles mortality in these countries that implemented the measles vaccine.
This face. Just staring into the abyss here. I live for this. I live for people who never get pushback getting pushback. I live for that. Jen wants me to remind you, we are crowd-funded, and we are a little short on our gift goal. We got about 45 minutes left. If you could help us knock that out, that would be greatly appreciated. I'll update the number here. If we all did the dollar train, we can get that knocked out. This is how we survive. This is how we keep doing the show every day. So anything you can help out with would be greatly appreciated. I don't think I missed any. Let's go to the next one. But thank you, guys. Here is just moving on, and I think this is connected because one of the things that we see with RFK is, and this administration in general, is this, like, America First only really matters when it comes to like helping poor people. Like, will we give subsidies? Will we give money to corporations overseas? Will we take their money? Will we work hand in hand with them? Yes, we will. Sorry. I don't remember what I was saying now. Oh, yeah. So what just came out recently was a study that showed the amount of people, and based on estimates, the amount of lives that are going to be lost due to the cuts that we've made in USAID. And so Marco Rubio went on with George Slopadopoulos to defend our cuts to USAID. Now, again, I understand the America First, like we don't want to spend any money overseas until we take care of the people at home. We're not taking care of the people at home. The money that we stopped sending overseas through USAID, we just gave it to billionaires. We just used it to take care of tax cuts. We're not investing in people here. We're not providing health care here. We're not providing better food here. We're not providing better jobs here. In fact, the food is getting worse. It's getting more expensive. The job market is drying up, but the billionaires got another tax break. That's what we did with that money. So you might say, okay, it's America First because they're here, but it's billionaires first, foreign billionaires second, American citizens third. Listen to Marco Rubio now try and just like, this is all it takes in this administration. He's not going to offer any data. He's not going to offer any pushback. And I'll show you the study that they're referencing here in a minute. He's just going to do what the Trump administration does now. Nope. Anything you say is a lie. Everything we say is true.
We shut down AID because it was a dysfunctional organization. We moved it under the State Department. Number two, we are going to do more foreign aid than any country in the world. We're going to do more than anyone in the world again this year. But we're going to do it the right way. We're going to do it holistically. We're going to do it as part of an integrated foreign policy. We are not going to fund an NGO industrial complex that built itself up, that was taking a substantial percentage of the money and not going directly to the recipients. It was going to these organizations that had
You notice how it's always a substantial? You notice how it's always generic? What percentage? Which NGOs? Were there some NGOs that weren't taking a big percentage of the money and keeping it for themselves? Notice how they never give you any details. It's just that all of these things are corrupt. All of this stuff we did for people who needed food, who needed access to medicine, it was all just a big waste of money. We want to help them. It's like everything Republicans do. We want to help poor people, but we can't help poor people because every time we try to, somebody gets in the way and makes $1 off of it, and we can't have that. So we're just not going to help poor people anymore. The party of Jesus, right? You guys are the Christian party.
$1 billion projects and budgets. We're not going to continue to do it that way. We are going to provide aid. We're providing aid now. We just rolled out our new initiative on health. It's going to be much more successful and much more effective. We're going to enter into direct compacts with the countries. We're going to empower our embassies and our ambassadors to direct which projects we fund and how much money countries are going to be receiving. So we are restructuring the way we do aid. It's going to be far more effective, and it's going to be integrated into our holistic foreign policy.
That's all in the future. But are you standing by that comment? You're saying that no one has died?
No, it's happening now. That's not in the future.
No one has died because of the aid cuts? Are all those aid organizations lying?
That's ridiculous. Well, first of all, then they died because England didn't give enough money, or Canada didn't give more, or China did. Let's blame the other countries that don't do any foreign aid. How about China? I mean, China's the second largest economy in the world. They don't give money to these projects.
So you're no longer...
Yeah, they do. How is the Secretary of State unaware that China gives foreign aid? There's no way he doesn't know that, right? He must just know that he can lie to you. He must know that. They have given, if we just look at BRI, the Belt and Road Initiative. I'm trying to see if I can get an exact number from 2024. He must know that, though, right? $21 billion is what Brookings is saying. $21 billion is what they gave. Okay. Apparently that's zero.
Disputing that the aid cuts have cost people's lives. You're no longer disputing that.
It didn't. I think anybody who tells you that somehow it's the United States, if we cut $1, somehow we're responsible for some horrific thing that's going on in the world is just not true. Beyond that, I would say that in some of these places
that
that they
dollar's
cite,
not going
the
to
reason why the
feeding
aid
someone
didn't
or
get
medicine,
there,
someone's going to die,
one of the
aren't they?
reasons why some of these places didn't.
That's a fair question. Like, make that make sense. He's like, somebody's saying that if we don't give this money, somebody dies. Oh, well, then how did they eat? If this aid is going to feed people who don't have access to food and nobody picks up that bill, are they not going to die? How are they going to eat? Make this make sense from this administration. When they say like radical transparency, what they mean is we're going to blame everybody but ourselves. I have yet to see this administration take responsibility for a single thing that they've done. Nothing is ever their fault. Everything is somebody else. And even when they blame, or tell Canada to give aid, Canada does give aid. Tell China to give aid, China does give aid. And you know what? There's a lot of countries like Poland, like Switzerland, like the UK, like Canada, who actually give more aid as a percentage to population than we do. We do give a lot of money, but like by percentage per capita, we don't give out that much aid. We're not at the top per capita. So these other countries that are smaller, they give less money, but it is actually more impactful. It is their citizens giving more of their money than our citizens. We are, without a doubt, the most selfish country on earth. And weirdly, like, we're only selfish with our money that we give to poor people. We'll give unlimited amounts of money to the military. We'll give tons of money if we're going to kill people, and we'll give tons of money to billionaires. But if it's somebody who's poor, somehow that has become like a bad thing for conservatives. Somehow helping the poor is literally the worst thing you could do. Giving handouts to the rich, that just is good economic sense.
Get the aid is not because we cut the aid. It's because there's a war going on and the aid never got to the people. So in Sudan, for example, it's not just a humanitarian catastrophe, it's a war zone. Okay, the aid is stolen, the aid is impeded. In fact, they use aid as a tool against the people, and so blocking aid is a tool and an arm of war. So in some of these places, the reason why the aid isn't getting there is it can't be distributed. Look at Haiti. One of the reasons why aid can't be distributed in Haiti is you can send all the aid in the world you want. It gets hijacked and stolen by criminal gangs that control the country. And so they're the ones to blame for whatever happening there, not us who provided more aid than anybody else.
Let me just try
Haiti,
one more time.
Africa,
Are you standing
by every
by
part of the world?
Are you standing by your contention that
no one has died because the United States has cut aid? No. People have died because gangs steal the aid. People have died because the distributors of aid have...
Wait, help me, Marco. If they don't get the fucking aid because somebody steals it and then they die, then why wouldn't the people who do get the aid, who don't get the aid anymore, die? Why do you only die if somebody steals it? I agree. I believe him when he says that people have stolen aid. But logically, this makes no fucking sense. No, they only die when the aid is stolen, not when we refuse to give them the aid. If they die because the aid is stolen, then wouldn't they also die if you don't give them the aid? Is it... There's nothing to even be stolen. There's no aid. I don't understand how you guys watch this every day in and day out. You watch these people on TV, you listen to what they say. Do you ever think anything other than, oh, they are always telling the truth and the libs are lying? Do you ever listen to the words that they say? This is common sense stuff. How could people die because aid is stolen, but they don't die because aid isn't given? That's not possible. That doesn't make any fucking sense. And we give aid all over the world, and that aid gets places. And I'm going to show you the study here in a minute, but first I want to show you the sudden change from Marco Rubio, because it wasn't that long ago that Marco Rubio sounded exactly like me.
We don't have to give foreign aid. We do so because it furthers our national interest. That's why we give foreign aid. Now, obviously, there's a component to foreign aid that's humanitarian in scope, and that's important too. I promise you it's going to be a lot harder to recruit someone to anti-Americanism, anti-American terrorism, if the United States of America was the reason why they're even alive today. Anybody who tells you that we can slash foreign aid and that will bring us to balance is lying to you. Foreign aid is less than 1% of our budget. It's just not true.
Now, those comments paint a pretty clear picture, right? He said foreign aid was critical to U.S. foreign policy. Now he's trying to dismantle the agency behind it, but that's really not all that we found. We also...
All right, I just want to show that first part of the clip. Let's get to the study that they're talking about. So here is the actual study. This is from Lancet. I really hope that all my edits stayed here, or my highlights stayed. Otherwise, we're fucked here. This has been giving me trouble all morning. Please work, please work, please work. There we go. All right, so here's I'm going to go over just like the meta-analysis here. I'm going to go over the methods. You can go through the findings yourself. You can see this is a very, very long study, and this is all the methodology. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain the methodology that they used and how they got to these numbers. And then if you want to go fact check this yourself, we'll drop this in the Discord, so you'll have this source here. But in this retrospective impact evaluation integrated with forecasting analysis, we used panel data from 133 countries and territories, including all low-income and middle-income countries, LMIC. So you're going to see this LMIC, the rest of it, what we're talking about, low-income, middle-income countries. So when we say that, that's what we're talking about, with USAID support ranging from none to very high. First, we used fixed effects multivariable Poisson models, or Poisson models, with robust SEs adjusted for demographic, socioeconomic, and health care factors to estimate the impact of USAID funding on all age and all-cause mortality from 2001 to 2021. Second, we evaluated its effects by age-specific, sex-specific, and cause-specific groups. Third, we did several sensitivity and triangulation analysis. So just I don't know specifically what the Poisson model is and the robust SEs. I did look into the sensitivity and triangulation analysis, and just this is going to sound very unscientific, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but from my understanding, a sensitivity analysis is basically where they're able to isolate one set of data, and they move that they change that set of data for different variables. So they'll say like the impact could be the amount of aid or the frequency of aid, and they'll change that, and that is the sensitivity analysis that gives them a gauge on like, does increase in funding, like how much does an increase in funding make a difference when it comes to the I guess like the projections of people's life expectancy. And then they did a triangulation analysis, which basically lets you take 3 different points and you can change the different points, but it allows you to say, like, are these things related? Is there an associative effect here? Is there a causative effect? So this is a very like robust study. They've used, from what I understand, from what I've read, like they've used basically all sorts of analysis, and they've taken all of these analysis together, and then they've come to these conclusions. The USAID funding has significantly contributed to the reduction in adult and child mortality across low-income and middle-income countries over the past 2 decades. Our estimates show that unless the abrupt funding cuts announced and implemented in the first half of 2025 are reversed, a staggering number of avoidable deaths could occur by 2030. Although the United States has indeed been the largest donor in absolute terms, providing more than $55 billion in official development assistance in 2023 and accounting for approximately 30% of total development assistance committee countries, it ranked only 25th out of 30 DAC members in terms of ODA relative to national income. So this is the per capita. We're 25th. Like per resident, we're not even close to spending the most. By contrast, Norway It's 1.09%. Luxembourg, 1%, and the target was 0.7. So we're well under that at, I think, what did they say? We were 0.24. We estimate that over the past 2 decades, USAID-funded programs have helped prevent more than 91 million deaths globally, including 30 million deaths among children. Projections suggest that ongoing deep funding cuts, combined with the potential dismantling of the agency, could result in 14 million additional deaths by 2030. So this is what the study's concluding. That in the 5 years, 14 million additional deaths, not ones that are already projected, could occur because of these cuts in funding, including 4 to 5 million deaths among children under the age of 5. These results provide essential evidence for policymakers, planners, and advocates navigating the future of U.S. global health engagement. You can go through this. It'll be highlighted. You can go through the variables. I don't know it well enough to really explain it that well to you. But what I will say is this. The people that are in charge of our country right now, not only do they not care about this, this is good for them. More deaths actually is good for them. More of these countries hanging on by a thread is actually good for them because that gives the United States leverage and that gives these big businesses leverage. And they want to go in and they want to go in. They would like to go in and they would like to offer financial deals for like mineral rights. Any country that has lithium deposits or natural gas deposits or oil deposits or any mineral that is useful to any of these billionaires. So the more people die, the more famine there is, the more desperate these countries become, the better it is for these capitalists. And that's what we do. That's what conservatism is. We are a frankly pretty disgusting country right now. We could give a fuck about people's lives. And even the conservatives, if you guys are still around, which I doubt you are today was not your day. You guys do this too. If you don't care about immigrants' lives, you don't care about poor kids' lives, you don't care about funding schools, you don't care about veterans, you don't care about healthcare in general. As we speak today, the government is on the verge of a shutdown, and the Democrats are just advocating that you make some changes to our spending so that Americans can afford health insurance and not die. And Republicans are saying, oh, we can't afford it. We can't afford it. We got to let these health insurance costs skyrocket. When they're looking across, you're watching farmer after farmer after farmer lose their farm. Nobody cares. Unemployment going up. None of them care. Inflation going up. None of them care. Because ultimately, it's a zero-sum game there. They're looking at assets. And the more, if people die, that's just more assets that they can accumulate. They don't care about any of you. And it's so transparently clear. They're not doing anything for you. I'm not on the right. If I just ask questions, I just got here. Well, welcome, Stephen. It's good to have you here. I ask this question every day, and we're still waiting. But can you on the right tell me, anybody that voted for Trump or that supports this administration, can you please tell me what it is since January that has made your life better that Donald Trump has done, that this administration has done? Am I going to ignore the data, the lack of data from the study? Oh, Jesus Christ. Do I have to pull that study back up? Are you serious? Did you read the study, Aaron? I don't think you read the study here. Let's go down here. Here we'll explain all of your methodology, including the classification of diseases. This is explaining the exposure variable and how they use math for the exposure variable. This lists their data sources, which are age standardized mortality per cause, and age groups were collected by the Global Burden of Disease Collaborative Network. You can see that here. You can click on the link. There's the data. The data on USAID funding was from government agencies. You can click on it there. Demographic, socioeconomic, and healthcare-related variables were from the World Bank data. You can click on it there. The World Health Organization Global Health Observatory data, which you can get there. The complete list of data sources and related detailed methods is presented in Appendix 10, which you can see here. Is this none of this is data? If we scroll down here, if you look at the statistical analysis, it explains all of that with sources. It explains the triangulation analysis. It explains all this. You could go down here. You can look at the mortality rate from 2001 to 2021, and you can look at the rate of change. You can look here, and you can see that as we funded USAID, the mortality rate got better. Is this how's this data? Remember, you said this data didn't exist. Have you looked at any of this data? If you did look at this data, what does it mean? With that, this study is already a nothing burger. Dude, you don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how I'm responding to you. It's like you can't. You're looking at this and you're like, "There's no data." This is the problem with woke sources. Math is woke. There we go. This is the first chat I've seen from you, Aaron. Look, you could come up here and fucking talk to me. Why do you sit in the chat and then whine that I don't pay attention to you? All right. Yeah. Is this data? Is this enough data for you? Yeah, I'm not a data scientist. I don't study this stuff. I read it. I think I understand it. I have a hard time explaining what it means. That's true. You do too. But I read it. I don't think you did. All this stuff isn't data, though, guys. Marco Rubio didn't cite any data. Aaron, did you side with Marco Rubio there? All right, I'm done with Aaron. All right, Aaron, you're just ignored. You're clearly not good faith. All right. What do we got? 35 more minutes to go. Let's see here. Lee said, I learn so much every day, whether it be facts or perspective. Thank you. Appreciate it. Michael said, new sub. Thank you. RC74 said, for the goal, buddy. CC said, enjoy the rest of your day, man, in chat. Thank you. Chelsea said, my Antifa, DNC, Soros, Tylenol money. Jennifer said, thank you both for all that you do. Glorious Steph said, you never read my Cash app from yesterday. You fuck. All right, let me look. Is it under Glorious stuff? Let's look. I don't know if it didn't come through. I'm looking from yesterday. It was a Cash app from yesterday. I don't see one under your username from yesterday. I don't know if it didn't come through or if there's a different username. Send Jen your username if it's a different one. I don't know. Melissa, thanks for joining the Dollar Train. Check here. All right, perfect. This was a reporter asking Caroline Levitt, just moving subjects now. We're going to get back to the Letitia James. If you remember, I think it was it Virginia? Who was it? One of the attorney general or U.S. district attorneys said they couldn't find any dirt on Letitia James, and when they reported that to Donald Trump, he's like, "Fuck it, do it anyways." And they're like, "We can't. Like, there's no case here." So Caroline Levitt was asked about this yesterday, and this is why we call you guys fascists, because of this answer.
Thanks, Caroline. But the case against Letitia James was extensively investigated for 5 months, and President Trump's handpicked Attorney General Eric Siebert could not find any evidence that he committed a crime. So is the president saying here it doesn't matter if there's a crime, he just wants his political enemies to be charged? Well, let me...
All right, good question. Eric Siebert said he couldn't find anything to charge her with, and when he went back to you guys, there was like, you need to charge him anyways. So is the president just going to charge people even when there's no evidence? Good question. The answer is shocking.
To be charged.
Well, let me just walk you through Letitia James. Letitia James completely abused her oath of office. Letitia James was actively and openly engaged in lawfare. You talk about weaponizing the Department of Justice. What was Letitia James's campaign slogan? It was prosecute Donald Trump.
Let's see if that's true. Letitia James campaign slogan. Let's see. If I can even find it. There it is. James for NY. Anything about Trump there? You see it? Huh. I don't see a campaign slogan there. I don't see one at all. Maybe that's not true.
She was saying she was going to prosecute Donald Trump before she even knew if Donald Trump committed a crime, which of course we did not. Those are not the words of a serious prosecutor. Those are the
Wait, but he did commit a crime, though. But then he did. But she was right. He did commit a crime. Right? So she was right? That's what we're upset about?
words of a corrupt politician who is abusing their power. She actively campaigned on that. She also led the witch hunt, the financial fraud investigation against President Trump and the Trump Organization.
The financial fraud investigation that he was guilty in? Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
In an appeals court, tossed that case out, a $500 million civil fraud.
Appeals court did not toss out the conviction, actually. What they said was that the amount that he had to pay was excessive. But the conviction actually still stands. So another lie. Like, do they just lie about everything? MAGA, nobody cares. They just lie about everything. And that's a good point there, too, Chet. She didn't work for the DOJ. She also didn't work for the DOJ.
Penalty in August, which was another win for the president, and exonerated him of this witch hunt and showed that this is an individual who is corrupt and abused her oath of office. And we also have evidence of her mortgage fraud. An April report from a white-collar fraud investigator found that there was documented evidence that James engaged in a consistent pattern of financial and property disclosures that raise serious legal questions.
And then they checked those legal questions, and it turns out that she was compliant with the law. But again, they're admitting it. They're just admitting it. Like, yeah, we're going after her because she went after Trump. That's the answer to the question. The answer is yes. If you prosecuted Donald Trump, you will be prosecuted, even if there's no crime there. Speaking of investigations, then she's asked about Tom Homan, who is allegedly on video taking a $50,000 cash bribe, which we'll see if we see that. It's going to be subpoenaed. We'll see if we get access to it. Here's what she says about that.
Thanks, Caroline. So too on the Homan investigation, I mean, can you just speak to, did the president ask the Justice Department to close the case, and does Homan have to return the $50,000?
Well, Mr. Homan never took the $50,000 that you're referring to, so you should get your facts straight. Number.
How do you know that? How does she know that? How come they speak so definitively about these cases? How would Caroline Levitt know if he took the $50,000 or not, unless we'd seen that video? Has she seen the video? Is she acknowledging that there's a video? Because last I heard, they said that there wasn't a video.
One. Number two, this was another example of the weaponization of the Biden Department of Justice against one of President Trump's strongest and most vocal supporters in the midst of a presidential campaign. You had FBI agents going undercover to try and entrap one of the president's top allies and supporters, someone who they knew very well would be taking a government position months later. Mr. Homan did absolutely nothing wrong, and even the President's Department of Justice, even Kash Patel's FBI, looked into this just to make sure. They had a number of different prosecutors and FBI agents who looked into this.
Oh, Kash Patel checked it out. Never mind. Sorry, guys. My bad. My bad. Kash Patel checked it all out. We're good. Nothing to see here. That guy's only been caught lying about fucking everything so far. But yeah, Kash Patel, nothing to see here.
Zero evidence of illegal activity or criminal wrongdoing in the White House, and the president stand by Tom Homan 100% because he did absolutely nothing wrong, and he is a brave public servant who has done a phenomenal job in helping the president shut down.
So that's just made up? So they just made up that there's a video? They just made up that there was this sting and that they said, like, make up your mind. This either didn't happen or the sting was illegal. And by the way, I agree. It sounds like they did set up a sting. Unfortunately, in this country, you're allowed to do that. The FBI is allowed to do that. If there's accusations, or they have evidence to believe that you're taking bribes, you know what would have fixed all of this if he didn't take the bribe? MAGA, will you care at all if it turns out that he took a bribe? Will you care that they came out and denied it? How many more times do they have to deny the existence of something that turns out to be true? There is no video from the night that Epstein died. Whoops. Oh, there's 3 minutes missing, but we can't recover them. Whoops, got them back, didn't we? That letter, that book doesn't exist where Donald Trump wrote a letter. Whoops. Donald Trump didn't have sex and pay hush money to Stormy Daniels. Whoops. We didn't have a meeting with the Russians at Trump Tower. Whoops. How many more times do they have to lie and be proven wrong before you guys will be like, yeah, maybe they're lying? They lie about everything. There's almost every single thing, like every single bad thing you can say about Donald Trump, every corrupt thing he's done, he lied about it first. He told you it was a lie first, and then it turned out to be true, and you just moved on. It's very cucky behavior, folks. Tired of your cuckoldry. I noticed that Aaron didn't come up and correct me. Thanks, Aaron. Plenty of time to chat in the comments, but not to download Discord. Take 12 seconds. Let's see. How much time do we have? We have 15 minutes left. Let me read a couple of these. Carol said, ask MAGA again why the president hasn't released the Epstein files. Marlene said, for being able to satisfy yourself. Thank you. Yep, I once again told you to stop calling them pussies because they lack warmth, depth, and fortitude. Did I not read that one? I've read that in my head like a million times. I really didn't read that out loud yesterday? Yeah. Stop calling them pussies. They lack warmth, depth, and fortitude. It's the other way, right? What's the actual... There was like that other definition of pussy. We all decided I could say it if we meant the other definition. I've read that in my head. It's the most J thing. I'm sorry. That is a very J thing. I'm a mess. Let's go here. Is this the one? Let's see. I actually do want to talk about this just for a second, because I think this is weird. So yesterday, Ryan Routh, I'm not exactly sure how you say it. That's the person that was accused and now found guilty of trying to assassinate Donald Trump. There's some fuckery in this case. I don't want to, like, I think the evidence lines up that Ryan Routh planned an assassination. I think that's what the evidence lines up for. I'm not trying to say that this is necessarily conspiracy, but let me just say that the things that are giving me pause. Number one, the judge was Eileen Cannon. And Eileen Cannon, who slow walked the documents case, and we never got to have the documents case because she just allowed it to be prolonged. She very quickly got through this case. Very, very quickly got through this case. Now, initially, Ryan Routh had public defenders. And then halfway through the case, he convinced Eileen Cannon that they weren't doing a good job and he wanted to represent himself. The part of this that is fucking me up is this man should not have been allowed to defend himself. This man clearly does not have it together. And I think that on appeal, you may have some problems with this case. I just wanted to show you a couple things that were alarming. At a court hearing Tuesday, and I went backwards. So this was from April 15th. And this was about entering evidence. At a court hearing Tuesday, Royce lawyers asked U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon to allow a defense expert to examine and test fire the weapon. This is when he still had lawyers. Federal prosecutors want to show evidence that Routh planned a sniper attack, and they will have an expert testify how it could have been carried out if not detected and disrupted by Trump's security detail. Because the rifle had a scope attached in a makeshift manner with electrical tape, Routh's lawyers questioned whether it would have been accurate enough for a sniper attack. So let me just explain like how bizarre this is. So he positioned himself between the 5th hole and the 6th hole. He fastened a scope to his rifle with electrical tape, which you'd have to get that pretty secure, and he was set up to take a long distance shot somewhere around 375 yards. If he had waited till the president got to the 6th tee, that shot would have been about 40 yards. So, one, the fact that this person had a makeshift scope is kind of alarming. They said they want their own experts to testify how well or accurately it would have been fired if used that day. Prosecutors say an FBI weapons expert test-fired the gun when it was processed as evidence, but they say the question of how well it worked is not relevant to the case. Ruth is charged with attempting to assassinate a presidential candidate, and his intent to do so, they say, is all that matters. If there was a poor planning, problems with the gun, or other things that prevented the attack from happening, they say that can't be used as a defense. At the hearing, Judge Cannon said that she will allow a defense expert to test-fire the rifle to check its operability, but not its accuracy as a weapon when used at a distance by a sniper. That's all fair. Along with the attempted assassination of a presidential candidate, Ruth's charged with 4 other counts, including federal weapons violations. Prosecutors have recently released some new details that they want to introduce at the trial. Those include messages recovered from his phone showing that he attempted to buy, and this is, again, I think this goes to show that this is kind of a crazy person. He attempted to buy a .50 caliber rifle and a rocket launcher. Are we saying that a man who's trying to get a .50 cal and a rocket launcher to do an assassination is somebody who's carefully thought this through and is all there? A fucking rocket launcher? You don't use a rocket launcher in video games, right? Like, that's like the first thing you learn is like, oh, there's a rocket. Don't use that because it's really ineffective. That's further evidence, they claim, of his intent. The defense hasn't responded yet to the new information contained in the court filings. To me, again, at this point, he still has lawyers. So it's like, all right, well, this guy's not all there, but he has lawyers, so that's fine. Then I think it's in this story. If it's not, I'll just explain what happened. He rested his case on Monday after only a few hours of presenting his own defense after getting rid of his attorneys and calling only 3 witnesses. In court Monday, his leadoff witness was Michael McClay, a former Marine sniper who saw active duty in Iraq and Afghanistan. Ruth called him as a gun expert, but was cautioned by the court to restrict his questions to a sniper's tactics and positioning. Throughout the morning, Eileen Cannon repeatedly interrupted Ruth as he questioned his witness, warning the non-lawyer to follow federal judicial rules. Ruth, who is representing himself in trial after he told Judge Cannon he was unhappy with his court-appointed lawyers, has pled not guilty. Now, again, he can't follow simple directions. The assassination attempt was bizarre. He was living in his car at a truck stop. He was following, they mapped his coordinates, and he was going between like Mar-a-Lago and where Trump keeps his jet and his golf courses. And he'd been doing this for a long time. Clearly, just not a person who was mentally well. McClay, who's the expert, said that when he test-fired the SKS-style rifle left at the scene several months after the arrest, it malfunctioned. The gun fired, but the second round in the magazine repeatedly jammed. Prosecutors attributed that to the effects of acid used by investigators to recover the gun's obliterated serial numbers. This is where it got weird for me too, because I don't know, like this doesn't make a great deal of sense. I looked actually at how they use acid to recover obliterated serial numbers, and I even looked into the SKS style rifle, the one that he had. And there are multiple places where you would have an identification number, but the one that I think that they're talking about that would affect the firing mechanism, you can see, if you go on YouTube, you can see them take apart an SKS rifle, and you can see where the serial number is. I also went and I looked at like if this could cause a weapon to misfire. And in order to have this cause a weapon to misfire, you would have had to have a spill of acid into a spot where the serial number wasn't, that wouldn't be cleaned up. But if you go watch how they use acid in this manner, it is it's a very meticulous process, and it's a very careful process because they don't want to damage the evidence. And so these will be white gloves. Any area that they're not using will be covered. And that's where it would have spilled in to affect the firing mechanism of the gun. So you have a gun here that doesn't fire after the first shot. And the prosecutors are basically saying, like, yeah, we fucked up so bad getting the serial number back that we spilled acid all over this gun and made it so it doesn't fire. There's just a lot of weird shit in here. And again, I do think that he's the one that did this, but this seems very rushed, and it seems like they allowed a person who has no business defending himself to defend himself. I think this is ripe for like a mistrial. In questioning McClay, Rell seemed to indicate that an attempt on Trump's life may have been planned while he was golfing on the 5th hole, not the green on the 6th hole. He asked whether wouldn't it be more fitting to use a rifle scope at 375 yards, the distance to the 5th hole, than 40 yards, the distance from the sniper's hide to the 6th hole. McClay said yes. When Roth asked his witness whether the rifle would be able to hit a target from 375 yards away, the Marine sniper said, depending on the skill of the shooter. The other witnesses, 2 former friends from North Carolina, were called to testify to what he said is peacefulness, gentleness, and nonviolence. He became frustrated, though, by the prosecutor's objections and Judge Cannon's admonitions to follow judicial guidelines. The judge concluded questioning of both witnesses after repeated warnings. There's only one other part of this, and I just think they're going to ask for a mistrial. There's one other part of this, in that there was a letter that was he had in like a, I don't know if it's a safety deposit box, but it was some sort of lock box. And inside that box, there was a letter that basically said, I failed you all. Like I wanted to take out the president, but if you're reading this, I failed. And for whatever reason, the prosecution was able to introduce this letter, except for there's these 2 sentences at the end where Roth talks about the way that he was going to do this was by attacking Trump's plane. And that these attacks, and that would go along with like his path to and from the hangar. And he also had like a list, they found like a list of his campaign stops and flight records of where his plane was going. And for some reason, Eileen Cannon would not let that part be read at trial, which is a bizarre thing. To me, like that's going to be his defense, is that like he wasn't and that is his defense. He says that he was there. He says that he had the weapon, but he says he wasn't going to do it. That he actually wasn't going to do it that day, and that letter is part of his defense. I think it's a bullshit defense. I actually think he's guilty. But the way that this was rushed through, and the way that they let somebody who clearly shouldn't be defend himself, and they suppressed evidence that doesn't make sense that it would be suppressed, because that's part of his defense. Why would the letter that he wrote that confirms that he was trying to assassinate the president, why would you then be able to take parts of that letter and not introduce it into evidence? It was really fucking bizarre. Well, they're going to appeal it, and they're going to appeal it on these grounds. I don't know. I'm not an attorney, but Eileen Cannon clearly not helping her not helping her reputation here. I know I'm not a lawyer. Larry, you're not a lawyer either. But I did talk to a lawyer this morning. I did ask him. I said, if you were defending him, would you use this as evidence of a mistrial? And he said, oh, yeah, that would 100% be my appeal. I would say that the evidence was suppressed, and that this person clearly was not fit to represent themselves. So I did talk to a lawyer. If there's lawyers here who disagree with that, great. I'm happy to hear your opinion. I'm happy to change my mind. But to me, it comes off as really fishy. Let me check comments one more time, then we'll get out of here. And then again, we'll be back tonight for date night with Admir at 6 Pacific time. Kathy said for RTP Media, thank you very much for that. Check with Jens real quick. Jamar said, wait, Wile E. Coyote was trying to assassinate the president? Yeah. Lisa said for Jen's sanity and fuck Tex. And I got that with Marlene as well. All right, guys. I'll be back tonight at 6 Pacific Standard Time. I'm going to go spend some time with my daughter, who's going to be gone for the weekend. So I'm going to be daughterless all weekend, which is hasn't happened in a long time. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll be back on our TikTok and on YouTube tonight. Again, 6 Pacific Standard Time. And then we will have, there's no show tomorrow, but I may go live tomorrow night again and debate, and then a full show on Friday. So make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss any notifications when we go live. Jen, did I miss anything today? Do you have any other announcements I missed?
Probably, but I don't remember.
All right. All right, everybody. We'll see you in 5 hours. Take care of yourselves. Drink some water. Say something nice about yourself. Stay cute and cool. And have a great summer.